is Savardis. He's on the move, and they're going to look for Savardis in the corner. Touchdown!
Rowan heading for the touchpad with the lead, and the Profs will take the men's 400-yard freestyle relay.
Andrews will be in shotgun. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff. He'll throw it down the left sideline. He's got a wide open receiver. He's got the touchdown.
Okay, moving in. Sends one on goal, he scores!
And it is a power play goal.
Back to pass, middle of the field. The catch is made by Britt. She's off to the races at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Britt is in for the score.
Back on in, here's Yoxon. Yoxon with the backhand, trying to go to the front, makes the move and shot, and he scores!
Smith delivers. And that's hit back toward the mound. Weiss has it in short. He steps on second, and the ball game is over. Massapequa Coast has won the 2023 New York State Little League Baseball Championship.
Live from South Brunswick High School in South Brunswick, New Jersey, the PDF Sports Network is proud to welcome you into coverage of Old Bridge Knights high school football. Tonight, the Knights look to bounce back from a loss in Week 3 when they play their first road game of the 2024 season against the Vikings of South Brunswick High School. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Foreman, joined on the call tonight by my broadcast partner, Nicholas Bavona. And Nick, last week, you and I were on the call for a game that came down to the very final possession between Old Bridge and Piscataway. Despite a series of miscues that led to Piscataway points, Old Bridge was in possession of the football with 3 minutes remaining and a chance to win the game. A big holding call nullified a run to the 1 yard line, and the Knights ultimately lost the game by a single point. What does Old Bridge need to do tonight to get back on track and secure a win?
Well, if you look at that game, Joe, from Old Bridge's point of perspective, they played a pretty good game overall in that one. The only difference of the game was those 2 mistimed snaps that led to 1 scoop and score, which a lot of people will mention that most likely should have been a neutral zone infraction on Piscataway in that spot, which should have nullified the scoop and score from happening. And then, of course, that safety that happened late before the first half ended that gave Piscataway the lead. So, obviously, those are 2 big issues for Old Bridge in that game. And then, now to mention also, is that we saw how penalty yardage played a factor, and that was another big issue for Old Bridge in that game. And obviously tonight they want to make sure that that is not another factor. We saw that first drive of the game for the Knights, a lot of false starts happening that almost derailed that entire drive completely. So if Old Bridge wants to come out on top with the victory against this Vikings team, they got to avoid penalty yardage for sure.
And you said it, Nick. Looking back to last week, the number that really jumped out is something you and I spoke about during the game. That was penalty yards. 129 of those for the Knights last week, and nearly 100 for the Chiefs in that game. That being said, the defenses ruled the night as neither team reached 150 yards of total offense. What did you like that you saw from this Knights defense last week?
And we've kind of seen from this Knights defense the last couple of weeks, Joe, it's not only just been last week, but even the week prior against Edison, they've done a great job defensively ever since that first game against Woodbridge. And last week, you had to like what you saw from the Knights defense, only allowing that 1 touchdown now, albeit it was the game-winning touchdown for the Chiefs. But the other 2 scores in that game for the Chiefs were on a scoop and score, as I mentioned, and then a kickoff return after the Knights had taken a 14-7 lead. So the Knights defense has been doing great wonders. You know, they're forcing a lot of turnovers as well the last couple of weeks. So that's something they're going to look forward to trying to do again here tonight in this matchup with the Vikings. But if you look at their defense in the last couple of weeks, Joe, they've just allowed just 19 points in their last 2 games as a defense. And they need to keep that going here tonight because as we saw last season between these 2 teams, a lot of points were put on the board.
You take a look at the recent history between these 2 teams, and there is plenty of reason to believe that we are in for another great game tonight, and that the defenses will need to be at the very top of their respective games. Last year, the meeting between these 2 teams saw 82 points scored in a 44-38 Vikings win. The victory for South Brunswick was their first against Old Bridge in the last 5 tries, and the ground game for the Vikings was a huge part of that.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's kind of funny, Joe. I looked at this stat from last week's game for the South Brunswick's team and their matchup with Monroe. they had the exact same amount of rushing yards in that game last week than they had in last season's matchup with this Old Bridge team. 260 rushing yards in that game for the Vikings. So that's obviously the point of emphasis for the Knights defense here tonight, trying to stop that running game. But it's very tough. We know that this Vikings team has a two-headed monster in the backfield as well as a good running quarterback as well. And obviously we see the Knights do that very often in their first 3 games that we've seen so far here on PDF. But a big emphasis, as I mentioned, is going to be stopping the run and trying to maybe force the Vikings in this game to throw the football a little bit more than they're used to throwing.
And on the topic of offense, the Old Bridge offense has put together very strong efforts in 2 of their 3 games this season. Last week was the outlier, and as we mentioned, the struggles were due in large part to penalty yardage. Is there any major cause for concern on that side of the ball entering this week's game, or can this team come into the night confident in what they accomplished thus far in 2024?
I think since the first couple, obviously game 1 was a very good offensive night for Old Bridge in that game. And even the game against Edison, they had a very strong offensive game in that one. But as you mentioned, the outlier was that game last week against Piscataway. And I think the biggest concern for Old Bridge after that game was the big play yardage they got in the first couple games of the season. They were not able to do that last week against Piscataway. Piscataway kept the ball in, maybe about 5-6 yards per play for Old Bridge. So they were not able to get, as we saw the week prior to that game, a 68-yard pass touchdown, 70-yard pass touchdown, wherever it may be. So maybe the biggest concern is obviously that, not getting those big plays that you would hope to get. But also another concern maybe is the offensive line. They kind of struggled last week, got a lot of those penalty yards that we mentioned, and of course that big penalty that negated that big run from Nugent that would have set them up for the game-winning score, and then obviously those 2 missed time snaps. So maybe there's a little bit of concern on the offensive line unit, but they're still very confident tonight, Joe, going into this matchup and try to even their record at 2-2.
And we talked about it last week. We'll speak about it again tonight. You mentioned it just now. One constant for this Knights team through all 3 games has been the ability of Brody Nugent to pick up yards on the ground. Over 100 yards rushing again last week, and it could have been much more were it not for the late holding call on a huge carry to the goal line late in the 4th quarter that you just mentioned. 3 games in the books, and no team has found an answer for him carrying the football yet. How does South Brunswick force him to give up the football or put it in the air tonight?
Well, look at the matchup these 2 teams had last year, Joe. Nugent went off in that game. He had 289 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, 11 carries for 83 rushing yards, and another touchdown added in that game. So for South Brunswick, you've obviously seen what Nugent has brought to the table this season, but they know what they brought to the table last year as well. So it's really going to be tough for this defense to kind of scout out and see what the Knights offense is going to do in this game. I think obviously you want to maybe try to force him to throw the football in this game, but for what he did in last year's matchup with these 2 teams, you might have to try to force him to throw the football and avoid these big play rushing that we've seen from the Knights so far this season, as he's obviously averaged near about 100 yards per game so far in the first 3 games of the season.
The Vikings will certainly have their hands full against the Knights tonight, but we get a chance to take a closer look at this unbeaten South Brunswick team when we come back. This is coverage of Old Bridge Knights high school football exclusively on the PDF Sports Network.
welcome to the All-American Ford Bronco Barn. That's right, we turned part of our showroom into a Ford Bronco Barn. All-American Ford in Old Bridge has the largest selection and best prices. Our Bronco Barn features custom Broncos, Bronco heritage signage, accessories, and more. All-American Ford in Old Bridge is truly your Ford Bronco headquarters, and there's something for everyone from the Big Ben trim level to specialty Broncos. Ride topless in a Bronco from All-American Ford. Visit us in Old Bridge or shop online at allamericanfordinoldbridge.com.
Since 2003,
And we're back here on the PDF Sports Network ahead of this Week 4 matchup between the Knights of Old Bridge High School and the Vikings of South Brunswick High School. Joe Foreman rejoining you alongside Nicholas Bavona on the call tonight. And before we get a chance to speak with Knights head coach Matt Donahue and some of his players ahead of tonight's game, let's take a look at the Vikings team that they will face this evening. As I mentioned ahead of the break, this Vikings team comes in 3-0 and will be looking to remain unbeaten tonight. Nick, how has this team found this level of success early in the season?
Well, if you look at both sides of the ball, Joe, they've been a very formidable force for the teams that they've played so far. On the offensive side, I mentioned already that they have that dual-headed monster in the backfield. Kamari Tony and Omar Adams have been great for them this season in the running game. Look no further than what they did last week against Monroe. Tony had 80 yards on 15 carries and a touchdown. Adams had 16 carries, 119 yards and a touchdown to add himself. And on the defensive side, Joe, a big stat for them this season, 6 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries, a scoop and score as well. And I believe they have a +6 in the turnover differential for this season. So those turnovers have been leading them to scoring opportunities, and that's something that the both sides, the defenses have been playing really strong for the Vikings the last 3 weeks, for Old Bridge the last 2 weeks. So those two teams have been doing a great job defensively. Now, on the offensive side, they're also putting up some great numbers. I mentioned the rushing yards that we've seen from the Vikings in this season, and we already mentioned Brody Nugent's rushing attack so far for the Knights. So this game could really go either way for these two teams. Maybe expect maybe a lower scoring game if both teams are going to try to run the football as much as they would like to try to do. Then a lot of clock could be chewed in this game. It could be maybe a low-scoring affair. So we saw last season a lot of points being scored. Might be a little bit less points here tonight where both of these teams try to get that running game involved early on in this one.
And speaking of the running game, Nick, you and I touched on it earlier, but a big reason for the success of this Vikings team is a pair of backs that are already well above 200 yards rushing in just 3 games. However, much like this Knights team, when they do connect on pass plays, those typically go for big yardage.
Yeah, and that's what the Knights were trying to do last week, kind of, Joe. You know, try to set up the run so maybe they can get some big pass plays down the field, but unfortunately for them, they just were not able to do what they were trying to do in that game. They got some good rushing yards from Nugent. He did run for over 100 yards, but it wasn't as maybe consistent as they would hope to have had in that game, and it didn't really lead to a lot of pass attempts. I think Nugent had just 12 passing attempts total in that game and threw only 54 yards. Did have 2 passing touchdowns, but I think for Old Bridge in this game, I think if they're able to set up the run as they would like to have it consistently throughout this game, and this goes the same for the Vikings as well, if these two teams are able to set up their run early on in this one, they're going to be able to set up those big pass plays and try to get them down the field and maybe get some touchdowns on the play, or at least set up that running game for a goal line opportunity to try to put their team on top.
The Knights stand in the way of a 4-0 start for South Brunswick, and coming up after this break, we get a chance to speak with Old Bridge head coach Matt Donahue and some of his players about tonight's tough matchup. More from our pregame coverage after a message from our sponsors when we come back here on the PDF Sports Network.
Trusted. Committed.
At Bagel Boy Bagel Shop in Old Bridge, we're more than just bagels. Come visit us at 2329 County Road 516, where we bake our bagels and bread fresh daily, have the freshest fruit and veggie platters, and an assortment of sandwiches and plates that are sure to satisfy. Bagel Boy is a proud sponsor of all things Old Bridge. Go Knights and go to Bagel Boy. 2329 County Road 516 and at bagelboyonline.com.
Old Bridge students, take advantage of the Old Bridge special at Bagel Boy. 10% off all purchases with your valid student ID.
And we are back from South Brunswick High School. Once again, this is Joe Foreman on the call alongside Nick Bavona tonight. But right now, Nick is down on field level with Old Bridge head coach Matt Donahue. Nick, take it away.
I'm here down the field level with Coach Matt Donahue. Matt, last week we saw a back-and-forth contest between your team and Piscataway. Obviously, there were some miscues on the offensive side in that game. What were some takeaways from that game that you saw that you're trying to fix here tonight in this game against South Brunswick?
I mean, listen, we watched the game. We played very well. I mean, minus a couple plays here and there that changed the outcome of the game, I think. We played very physical up front. We blocked our assignments pretty well. We pretty much did what we wanted to do last week, but, you make big-time mistakes like that, put yourself in a tough spot to win a game.
Now, Coach, speaking about last year's game between the South Brunswick team, obviously 82 combined points between yourself and the Vikings. What is your team's defensive strategy going into the night's contest, trying to avoid another shootout from happening and trying to get the victory tonight?
Stop the run. That's number one on our board, stop the run. And we just got to go out and play the way we did last year, physical and relentless.
Sounds good. Coach Matt Donahue looking for a good physical defensive contest here tonight as the Vikings take on the Knights of Old Bridge. We'll see you as we send it back to my broadcast partner, Joe Foreman.
All right, thank you, Nick. But, Nick, you're not done yet. A pair of players both joining Nick on the side of this Knights defense. Linebacker Justin Valinati and defensive lineman and wide receiver Michael Kavas join Nick down on the field.
Joe, I'm here on field level with Michael Kavas and Justin Valinati as the Knights take on the Vikings here tonight. Now, Mike, as we saw last week, your team's defense had another strong outing. We've seen that the last couple of games since week one. What has been your team's defensive scheme these last couple of weeks as you try to get another victory here tonight against this team on the Vikings?
Our coach, defensive coordinator, Coach Mo, be pushing us every day at practice, yelling, getting on our ass. But at the end of the day, it comes in handy at the end of the week.
Now, Justin, we saw last week you had that great interception on that screen pass on third down. What was your team's outlook into that play right there? And then obviously we saw last season, I should say, this match between these two teams, 82 combined points. What is your team's strategy in tonight's game, trying to avoid that many points from happening and try to get the victory?
I appreciate the pick. Obviously we're coming out here to win, 1 and 2. After 2 close games, it's not the best, but we'll go out there and fight, see if we can get the win.
It's all about fight and adversity here on the field level, Joe, as we send it back up to you before a kickoff between the Knights and the Vikings.
All right, thank you, Nick. And before kickoff, we'll throw it to one final break just ahead of the introduction of tonight's starters. And on the other side of a message from our sponsors, kickoff in tonight's game between Old Bridge and South Brunswick coming up here on the PDF Sports Network.
When it comes to buying and selling a home, do it with Peter Hunt's Home Team, powered by Century 21. For years, Peter has dedicated his life to the real estate industry, offering help and care to all of his clients. With experience and proven results, Peter is an award-winning realtor and the top producer for Century 21 Action Plus. A resident of Old Bridge, put Peter to work at selling your home or finding the home of your dreams. Call 1-800-299-2129 or reach Peter directly at 9086-014-934.
Old Bridge Football is sponsored by Lettering.com. Order vinyl lettering with unmatched production efficiency. With one-day turnaround and free shipping, we are unmatched when it comes to signage, boat lettering, mailboxes, window lettering, and of course, helmets and sports apparel. Free shipping always, and the best prices around. It's Lettering.com for all of your lettering needs.
And we are back from South Brunswick High School here on the PDF Sports Network. And as you can see on your screen, the South Brunswick starters and their entire roster are about to make their way out onto the field. This here on PDF is our first road game that we have covered for the Old Bridge High School Knights. We are on the call for every Knights game on the schedule this season. This is our fourth outing covering this Old Bridge team. And Nick, the Knights come in 1-2, looking to knock off an unbeaten Vikings team to get back to 500. But as we said during our pregame, they are going to have their hands full here this evening.
Yeah, I think obviously the game plan for the Knights, as I already touched upon it, Joe, it's stopping that rushing attack that this Vikings team has had so far throughout the first 3 weeks of the season. And obviously, that played a factor in the last season's game as well. I mentioned that
to try and set up their passing game with the running game and then move in to a play-action pass. But I touched on this point as well a bit earlier in the broadcast. When this Vikings team connects on pass plays, they typically go for big yardage. They attempted just 6 passes in the game last week. Daniel Duffy, 3 of 6, threw for 128 yards, including 2 touchdowns. One of those touchdowns went to Julian Williams for 62 yards. The other went to Bretton Lynch for 56 yards. So 2 passing plays accounting for 118 yards of Vikings offense and 2 touchdowns. The Knights will certainly have to be on the lookout for that here this evening. As for the rushing attack, you mentioned it, 260 total yards in this game. But last week, it was 61 yards for Duffy, 80 yards for Tony, and 119 yards for Adams.
Yeah, and obviously when you have 2 running backs doing that in just one game alone, and then we saw last season how many rushing yards that they got in that matchup and how many players that they did it with in the Vikings offense. It's obviously a lot to contend with if you're a Knights defense. So having to do that tonight as they make their way onto the field. And you know, Joe, obviously this team wants to get back. They've had 2 heartbreaking losses on the season as well. That 2-point loss of week number 1 to Woodbridge, that 1-point loss to Piscataway last week, a combined 3 points that they've lost in their 2 games this season. So really 2 heartbreaking defeats. Obviously, if they want to get the win here tonight, they got to stop that rushing attack, as we've already mentioned. But on the offensive side of things as well, they want to fix their miscues that they had last week and avoid that penalty yardage that we touched upon earlier on in this broadcast.
And speaking of the miscues, the scoring summary from last week's game tells the story. The Knights jumped ahead on a Cam Olivencia touchdown reception from Brody Nugent. The game was then tied on a fumble recovery in the end zone by Riley Wingate. Nugent then put the Knights in front again with a 1-yard run. Jamari Atkinson with a kickoff return then tied the score. We spoke about the knack of that Piscataway team for scoring without possessing the ball on offense. They did so twice last week in the form of touchdowns and then a third time on a safety that gave them a 16-14 lead. Jaden Griffith put the Knights ahead with a 7-yard touchdown reception in the fourth quarter, but James Bodley ultimately put the Chiefs ahead for good with a 5-yard touchdown run. The Chiefs did, however, fail on the 2-point conversion. That left the door open for Old Bridge on their final possession of the game. They did attempt a hook and lateral play. We did not capture that play with audio due to internet issues at the facility. Our internet connection, blistering speed tonight. We'll be here with you all evening. Sights and sounds, the national anthem about to play. We'll be right back.
Let the players play, coaches coach, and officials.
And we are back from South Brunswick High School, just moments away from kickoff between the Old Bridge High School Knights and the Vikings of South Brunswick. Once again, Joe Foreman on the call alongside Nick Pavona for the PDF Sports Network. And if you're a fan of South Brunswick and like what you see, be sure to let us know in the comments tonight. And thank you for tuning in to our live stream. As I mentioned before, Nick, this is our first road game covering this Knights team this season. A great facility, a great setting, and a great setup for us. We get to call the game outdoors today. Not often we get that chance. The rain was coming down just a couple of minutes ago. It was a light rain, but it appears as if we are going to have clear skies for kickoff here tonight as we have the opening coin toss down at midfield.
We'll look to see who wins that coin toss in just a moment, but as you mentioned, Joe, great facility here in South Brunswick. Overall, it should be a good game. You know, we saw what happened last year with these two teams, a lot of points being scored on the board for these two squads. Obviously, South Brunswick got the better end of that with a 44-38 win. But obviously, for this Old Bridge team, we've already spoken to Coach Matt Donahue and their players, and they're looking to fix obviously what the miscues were on offense last week, but as well as stopping this running game, as well as not allowing a lot of points on the board from this Vikings offense. Has had a very good start to this season.
Old Bridge has won the toss and deferred, so South Brunswick is going to receive the opening kickoff. And we've seen the last 2 weeks the Knights receive the opening kickoff and make the most of it. Not so tonight. We get a look at this Old Bridge defense on the field first. How do you feel about that if you're Old Bridge? And obviously it was their choice. They must be feeling pretty good.
Well, I think, remember last week also, that they went into that contest with Piscataway, and that was where Piscataway was coming off a game where they had 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns. So maybe that was a bit of a strategy going into that coin toss and getting the football first. But in this contest tonight, I don't blame them for trying to go on the defensive side first. We've seen what this defense has done the last couple of weeks. I mentioned they've allowed just 19 points defensively the last 2 games. Now, last week they did give up 22 points, but 14 of those points came from defensive special teams. So their defense overall has just given up the 19 points in the previous 2 contests after a rough going in week number 1. So now it's going to come down to, can they stop that rushing attack that we've mentioned a couple of times already. That will pretty much set the tone for how this game's going to go for not only this defense, but for what the offense will have to do once they get out on the field for the first time tonight.
And you know, both of these offenses will be looking to establish the ground game early. Obviously, we mentioned what the Vikings have done on the ground so far this season, but don't sleep on those Old Bridge backs either. It's not just Brody Nugent who can put the football on the ground and make big plays, as we are set for kickoff here in South Brunswick. That one sent away by Lucas Michael. And on the run back, it will be number 1, who is not on my roster, and a big return up the sideline, and that is number 7, Braylon Williams, all the way to the end zone for a Vikings touchdown.
Well, you could not have asked for a better start if you are the Vikings there, Joe. A kickoff return touchdown to get this game going and put the Vikings up 6-0 early on.
That 7 looked a lot like a 1, but make no mistake, Braylon Williams all the way to the end zone on the opening kickoff. And for the second consecutive week, this Knights team has seen a kick return taken to the end zone for 6.
And last week, it was a short kick that went into the end zone for the Piscataway Chiefs. But this one, a regular-sized kickoff going the full distance right there was Williams. And the extra point is blocked, though, Joe.
And the Knights will certainly take that. There's a way to bounce back on special teams with a blocked extra point. And perhaps that puts just a bit of a damper on the way this game gets started. Already a touchdown on the board for South Brunswick. They fail on the extra point. It will be 6-0 in favor of the home team as Old Bridge gets the football for the first time in just a few moments. How about that start, Nick?
I mean, if you're Old Bridge, it's certainly not the way you wanted to start this game. That goes without saying. But now you put your offense onto the field, and we saw, Joe, what happened last week in their first drive of the game against Piscataway. A 9-minute drive that ultimately ended up getting their first touchdown of that game. Olivencia getting the receiving end of that passing touchdown from Nugent. So now they come out onto the field trying to get their first points of the day of this game, but certainly a backbreaker right there, giving up that opening kickoff.
If you're going to give that up, it's preferable to give it up early rather than later, where those plays can completely change the dynamic of a game. Obviously, with the Vikings getting the football first. You would have preferred to keep them off the scoreboard, but if you're Old Bridge, the ball now right into the hands of your offense, unless they can match here on this kickoff return. We'll see what the Knights can do. There have been some dynamic kick returns by this Old Bridge squad so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, what a way this would be if Old Bridge was to return this ensuing kickoff coming up after the Knights just gave up one on their special teams unit.
That's kicked off by Gregory Schifrin. In the back, Zamir Evans in trouble. Still going backwards, and he is tackled inside the 10-yard line. Evans looked like he was trying to work his way toward the near sideline. That was not to be. Good pursuit in kick coverage by the Vikings, and it will be poor starting field position for Old Bridge on their opening drive.
Yeah, I mean, you saw right there, he was trying to break a couple of tackles and stiff arm his way to get some open field, but as he kept doing that, there were just more Vikings and Vikings getting into the backfield and forcing that tackle.
Old Bridge will take over just inside the 10. I think this one is officially spotted right at the 10-yard line. Brody Nugent in the shotgun. Motion man was Griffith, and Nugent will keep it and go nowhere. A loss of 2 on the play.
Good start right there for this Vikings defense. Have to see who got the tackle on that play. That was Boateng on the tackle right there. Defensive captain for this Vikings defense, and it makes it second and about 12.
Julian Williams, the other captain, along with Bretton Lynch on this Vikings squad. Pistol look for the Knights, and early movement on the outside. Cam Olivencia, the guilty party on the false start.
Yeah, we saw what happened last week with the false starts on this Old Bridge offense that really plagued them in that game against Piscataway, and now an early false start right there pushes them even further into their own end zone.
Pre-snap penalties, always a killer when you're backed up inside your own 10-yard line, even more so. Just look back at the game last week, Nick. That penalty ahead of the 4th down snap resulted in the safety as Old Bridge snapped it through the end zone. Nugent back in the pistol, looking left, has time, throws middle of the field, and incomplete at the feet of Jaden Griffith.
Yeah, and that one, Joe, you saw Nugent was trying to make a quick throw, and a dangerous play right there as well for Old Bridge, as there was pressure certainly in the backfield, and Nugent had to get that one off. You got to think that the pressure forced that throw to be a little bit short of the intended receiver, Griffith, right there. And now early in this game, it's 3rd and 16. And from what we saw last week, where that errant punt snap went over into the end zone to lead to a safety, this is a dangerous spot early in this game for the Knights.
I'm looking quick pass or quarterback run here, Nick. You do not want to punt from inside your own 5.
I would think a wide receiver screen, some type of screen, or maybe just try to get something on the ground, try to fool them.
And it's a quarterback rollout. Nugent to his weak side, completes the pass. And that is enough for a Knights first down.
What a play call right there.
Gutsy play call by Old Bridge as Amari Allsbrook makes the reception, makes a man miss, and picks up first down yardage.
I mean, it looked like originally that maybe Nugent was just going to take it himself and try to get some yardage to avoid anything further on a loss. But last second, he makes that throw, gets the first down. It gives the Knights a little bit of breathing room.
I like that play call, Nick. It gets your quarterback moving. Nugent had the option to run, and if given the chance, he was able to throw it as they'll hand off up the middle. And taken down was Jeremiah Dixon after a gain of 4 yards.
Here's the last look at that previous first down conversion right there for the Knights. You mentioned the rollout from Nugent, finding his open receiver, and just getting enough for that first down marker.
I really like that play call by Old Bridge. They did not give away the drive, gave their quarterback a chance to run it if the room was there, but the pass is instead complete for a first down. And Old Bridge is now set up with a 2nd down and 6 after the carry by Dixon. Dixon motions behind Nugent in the pistol. Fake handoff, throw to Griffith, complete. And Griffith is tackled just shy of the 40-yard line for another Knights first down.
Number 16 pass complete.
Another great play right there for the Knights there, Joe. A Looked like it was going to be another inside handoff for Nugent, and he made a quick decision to throw it at Griffith and get that first down marker.
The play fake set that one up over the middle. This time they will hand off to Dixon. He's fighting forward before finally getting stood up across the 40 after a gain of 3 yards. And Nick, you have to really like the ability of Brody Nugent on the play fake as well. I have to admit, on that third down play, I wasn't sure if he had the football or not. It was a great play fake that got that play started, and we saw it again on the completion to Griffith.
As we're accustomed to seeing, Nugent looks towards his sideline here on 2nd and 7, try and get the correct play call, try to get his team some yardage.
Griffith, or I should say Dixon, takes the handoff and is out across the 45. That will bring up 3rd down and short. It's 3rd and 3.
Yeah, we saw last week, Joe, another thing for Dixon. I think he had just 9 carries in that game for the Knights offense. So looking to get him involved early in this game with back-to-back runs. Now it's 3rd and short coming up for Old Bridge.
And I really like what I've seen from this Old Bridge offensive line so far tonight. These plays, especially the bootleg and the play fakes, are not possible if your blocking doesn't hold up front. And they're moving quickly on offense as well. So credit goes to the offensive line here as Nugent keeps it on the quarterback power. He heads for the sticks, has the first down, and is tackled across midfield in Vikings territory.
Yeah, once again, another great run right there from Nugent, which we, again, are also very accustomed to seeing here on this broadcast. And that was one, it looked like pretty much a speed option on that play, Joe. Dixon was running side to side with him, so if Nugent needed to pitch the ball to him, he was right there with him, and Nugent didn't need to do that as he got the first down marker.
Griffith, the motion man. He takes the handoff. Dixon with the block. And Griffith goes down very awkwardly on that play.
Look good.
And he gets up.
Is a little bit gingerly. He'll probably go to the sideline.
Yeah, that's a tough way to go down.
He does stay in the game, though.
Neglected to mention before, Chisholm Asanye, another captain for this Viking squad, in on the tackle there. As the Knights will hand off, Dixon up the middle. And that will bring Old Bridge within 4 yards of a first down. 3rd and 4 coming up.
Yeah, Dixon's been very involved early on in this game, Joe. He'll now set up on the outside as a wide receiver. So Nugent's all in the backfield by himself. We'll see if maybe he runs on this play.
Empty shotgun set after Griffith left the field. Moving gingerly, he's back out there, lined up in the slot here.
And time is called on the field.
If I see Griffith in the slot as a defense, I'm thinking that Nugent's going to get moving to his left, with Griffith perhaps running an out-breaking route toward that sideline.
This is good for Old Bridge, at least, Joe. There was an official's timeout on the field, and it's going to give Old Bridge now some time to decipher what they're going to call on the field. As now the clock will start running once again. Under 7 minutes to go in the first quarter, and a pivotal 3rd and 4. As once again, time's called.
Nick, I think there's a good shot. This is 4-down territory. We saw it last week. The Knights not shy about going for it on 4th down.
I think if you're South Brunswick in the spot, you got to look to try to avoid, going offside. We see Old Bridge do that a lot, trying to force their defenders to go offside in the neutral zone and getting their first down. So with 3rd and 4, this is certainly a spot they could do it.
Old Bridge will come out in a different offensive set here. Nugent in the pistol, and he will look to throw. Nugent flushed out to his left, throws downfield. That's complete for a first down and much more. Tackled inside the Vikings 30-yard line was number 18, Johnny Serrano.
Yeah, that was a great rollout once again from Nugent on that one, Joe. Finding the open receiver and once again making a play with his legs to get that first down and extend the stride for his team.
Nugent fakes the handoff, rolling to his right. Throws short, complete. Olivencia makes a move inside and is tackled just shy of the 15-yard line.
Quarterback 16, pass complete to number 10.
And they have it right now marked just at that first down marker. So it looks like it's going to be second and just about inches on this next upcoming play.
The entire playbook on the table here. Looks like a bit of a mismatch on the left side of the field as Nugent will keep. He has running room, and he is down inside the 5 as they will spot this one at the 2-yard line.
And This is the offense you kind of seen, Joe. If you notice what Old Bridge is doing as well, they're going no huddle, basically. They're going very fast right now, trying to get this points on the board.
I think this tempo offense has given the Vikings some issues. Nugent will take it, and he will score. On their opening drive, Old Bridge goes 90 yards, and it's Brody Nugent once again on the keeper, taking it in for 6.
Yeah, and that tempo offense really, as you mentioned, kind of caught the Vikings defense off guard and kind of had to give them a little bit of gasping for air on that play. A 90-yard drive, as you mentioned, and it ends with a touchdown right there from Nugent, and this game's tied at 6.
And Nick, if you saw, the defensive line on that play looked completely gassed. They did not chase Nugent as he made his way outside of right tackle and into the end zone. The extra point, high snap on its way, and that is good. That's a great job by the holder there to bring that one down. On the hold was number 69, Brody Hunt, and without him, that extra point does not happen.
Yeah, it's a great, we saw last week what happened with the snaps for that offensive line as we get a second look at Nugent's touchdown run. But obviously, they need to fix those offensive mistakes in terms of snapping the football. Almost had a disaster right there and almost led to us having the first 2 PAT attempts be unsuccessful. But the Knights do take the lead off that blocked PAT they had earlier on.
And how is that for a counter punch, Nick? Opening kickoff goes for 6. The Vikings, very early, unbeaten, jump out to a 6-0 lead, make an early statement on special teams. The Knights come back, and after a Week 3 game that was plagued with miscues on the offensive side, they put together what very well may have been their best drive in the first 4 weeks of the season.
And they did a lot of good things in that drive as well. I talked about how balanced this South Brunswick team is in terms of their offensive attack. We saw that in that attack right there for Old Bridge. A lot of good passes from Nugent, and most of them were on the scrambling effect and working into play with his legs, and then eventually getting that rushing touchdown to end the drive and give his team now a 1-point lead here in this first quarter.
The Knights really firing on all cylinders on that drive. The offensive line did a phenomenal job throughout the drive. Nugent had time. The running plays were well blocked. Dixon contributed, and the playmakers on the outside picked up big yards after catch. Here on the kick return, making his way toward the sideline is Julian Williams. He's pushed out of bounds at about the 35, and that's where the Vikings will start on their first offensive drive of this game.
Yeah, we already mentioned, Joe, how good this rushing offense is for this Vikings team. So be curious to see how the Knights come out and approach this defensive game plan. I talked to Michael Kavas and Justin Valinati about what they need to do tonight, and obviously the game plan, as I mentioned, stop the run. But we saw last week they were able to force some turnovers. Valinati forced an interception on a screen pass. So we'll see if those two can play a big factor into this game, as well as the rest of the defensive front.
Daniel Duffy at quarterback for the Vikings in the shotgun. He's looking left and throws that way, but Nick, you saw it. Early movement.
Early start.
Early movement on that play.
On the offense.
We saw a false start go against Old Bridge on their offensive possession. And Nick, I've mentioned it before, covering the Knights. Their receivers get off to a very quick start off the line of scrimmage. And I think that bodes well for them in the passing game, allows those receivers to gain a step. And oftentimes that can be the difference. From time to time, you'll see that result in a penalty.
Yeah, so now we'll see what South Brunswick will do on this upcoming 1st and 15. They set up a pass on the first down, the original attempt they had. Let's see if they try to go run here to try to get some yardage back.
Duffy in the shotgun once again, and he will hand off. Not much room there as they nearly get back to the original line of scrimmage. On the carry, that was Kamari Tony.
Kamari Tony on the carry. Gain of 5 yards.
Officially a gain of 5 on the play. They'll give him a 2nd and 10. Nick, I think we had it right. I think it was 2nd and 11.
Give him a benefit of the doubt.
We'll give him the extra yard.
The home crowd kind of plays a factor sometimes when you try to mark down where the first down marker is, or at least getting back to this point the line of scrimmage.
Statistician's discretion.
So now it's 2nd and 10 after that 5-yard pickup.
Duffy looks to throw again. Dangerous throw. And it sails high.
Number 13, Daniel Duffy's pass incomplete.
Jaden Endaz on the coverage. The intended target, Julian Irwin, but Nick, that very nearly could have gone the other way for 6.
Yeah, that could have been an easy pick 6 right there for the Knights defense. I mentioned that they've been able to force some turnovers as well in the so far 3 games in this season. So now 3rd and 10 for this South Brunswick team that doesn't really throw the football as often. So with already 1 pass attempt so far in this drive, let's see if they maybe it could be 4 down territory if you think about it as well, Joe. Maybe they try to get some yardage here and try to force something on 4th and short.
After that opening drive by the Knights, it'd be really tough to go for it. It's a rollout. Duffy throws, open receiver a bit low, and he is down short of a first down. Omar Adam was open. The throw was a bit short.
Number 13 pass.
There's also the question of whether or not that football contacted the turf. I'm not sure the replay will give us much clarity, Nick, but it's a 4th and 1 upcoming and a huge play early in this game.
Let's see if we get a look quickly before this upcoming 4th down play, as time was called on the field, and it's really tough to call from that spot if that ball did hit the turf or not.
Let's slow it down, Nick. We have time as we have whistles down on the field. One more look at it coming up here.
So we'll see the rollout coming up from Duffy, and you see Adam, the running back, does get open, but at that spot, it's really tough to tell.
4th down coming up. It's a 4th and 1. Really tough to make out if that ball was caught cleanly. I thought so in real time, but there was definitely a question mark at the end of that play on the live look.
There's still a conversation on the sideline to discuss this current spot. Maybe South Brunswick is, talking about did he get, did the first down mark before he was touched after making that catch.
I think it's down when a knee hits the ground in high school. You would know better than I, Nick. And he was certainly down.
The case as well.
Yeah, he was certainly down. 4th and short. I formation. 2 men in the backfield. It's a quarterback sneak. The pile is moving. Duffy has the first down and a bit more. They pick up 5 on the quarterback sneak, and how about that push up front from the Vikings?
Well, not exactly a tush push as you see in the NFL with the Eagles, but that certainly does have a you could make the case that may be a tush push in a little bit more of an unconventional way, but you mentioned the offensive line. Great push they got up front, giving Duffy a couple extra yardage on that play, securing the first down on midfield.
You don't have the kind of rushing attack that this Vikings team does without good offensive line play. The push up front was on full display there on 4th down. Once again, South Brunswick lines up in the single back. First down. Duffy moving to his right, in trouble. Breaks away from a sack, and Evans comes back to take him down. Duffy declined to throw it away there. I thought perhaps he'd fire it for the sideline and live to fight another down. Instead, he is sacked for a loss of about 7.
And the big play on that one, Joe, was how about number 51, Zach Florio? He forced Duffy to move back up in the pocket, and that led to the sack happening. If not for Florio making that, forcing Duffy to make that adjustment, that sack probably does not happen. And as you mentioned, it probably leads to Duffy throwing the ball out of bounds to make it 2nd and 10.
Second down and about 17 to go. Duffy again moving to his right, completes the screen. Blocked, set up well, but the Knights rally to make the tackle after a gain of 7 for Julian Williams.
Looks like he just got around near that original first down marker. Might be a yard shy. So it should be 3rd and 11 coming up for the Vikings here. And again, Joe, this might be a spot where you might try to get a halfback screen or something, try to set yourself up for a 4th down conversion potentially. Now, we talked about it earlier where it could be 4 down territory. They obviously got the 4th and 1. Certainly got to think that it's, at this spot in the field, it's probably 4 down territory once again.
I think it is if you get halfway there or more. I don't know if they go for it on 4th and 11 from midfield. I wouldn't. It's very early. It's a 1-point game. But we'll see what 3rd down brings as the Vikings look to pick up some valuable yardage ahead of a potential 4th down snap. It's a handoff on the reverse, and there's blocking ahead. Up the field goes Omar Adam, and he is finally tackled inside the 25-yard line.
And that end around, great play call right there for South Brunswick right there, Joe. Getting that end around play, fooling the defense, and getting the first down. But there was
a flag on the play.
On the field.
It was a late flag after the play was over. And I think it's sideline warning against the Vikings. And that is indeed the case.
1st and 10, Vikings.
First down, South Brunswick. As the clock winds down toward 1 minute to go in the first quarter.
So the end around.
And brought down by the jersey was Adam for a loss of 4.
Omar Adam on the carry.
I think that was Zamir Evans on that play, Joe, that made the tackle for loss.
Taken down by number 5, Zamir Evans.
It's easier said than done, but I think as an offense, you have to have it in mind to potentially run away from Zamir Evans because he wreaks havoc in the offensive backfield. We saw it last week. He made some big plays on special teams, has made some big tackles as well.
I believe had a fumble recovery and an interception in that game last week.
He has been a difference maker up front for this Old Bridge squad.
And he forced a loss of 6 on that first down play. Set up 2nd and long.
They lost even more than I thought initially on that play. As once again, the Vikings come out, lined up in a single back formation.
I think South Brunswick has called a timeout.
So the Vikings will talk it over here with 25 seconds to go in the opening quarter. It is 2nd down and 16, but Nick, just about a minute ago, they were in a 2nd and 17, made it 3rd and manageable on the screen, and then on the reverse or the end around, they were able to pick up first down yardage and a gain of about 25 yards. So now I think it is very possibly 4-down territory, especially if they don't pick up much. Here's another look at that big first down run.
Yeah, I mean, a great end-around run to Adam, and we mentioned how what he's done this season in the running game for this team, and he's set up as a wide receiver. And obviously, you know, if you are Old Bridge, you got to notice that they're going to have Adam set up as a wide receiver and be in the backfield trying to get those end-around runs. And they noticed that the next play, they went right back to that end-around play, and it led to Evans getting that 6-yard tackle for loss. So a good adjustment right there for the Knights defense, forcing the 2nd and long upcoming here for the Vikings.
Well, I mentioned the rushing numbers last week. 3 separate Vikings over 60 yards on the ground. And once again, South Brunswick lines up in the single back. 2 tight ends on the line of scrimmage. And Duffy will look to throw. He's flushed right and completes the screen again. And Nick, just like they did before, they set up a 3rd and manageable with the screen pass as Williams has another reception.
Yeah, they get down to the 20-yard line on that play, so it looks like they have about 3rd and 5 coming up. So a nice 11-yard pickup right there for the Vikings.
Gain of 4 yards, 3rd and 6.
And you have to think that the more you see the screen game of South Brunswick on display if you're Old Bridge, the more attuned you'll become to that. And we saw last week Piscataway screen after screen after screen, and late in the game, when they needed a big play, they faked the screen and threw the ball downfield. That may be on the table a bit later. As we come to the end of the first quarter, it is Old Bridge in front of South Brunswick 7-6. This is coverage of Old Bridge Knights high school football exclusively on the PDF Sports Network. Nick, Sammy D's won't be Old Bridge's best kept secret for long. From what I've been told, and these are just rumors, we're on the big screens at Sammy D's. So if you head over on game day and can't make it to the site of whatever game the Knights may have each week, you can catch the game on the big screen at Sammy D's. So a thank you to them for being a great sponsor of Knights football. And of course, they get their share of exposure here on the PDF Sports Network each week as well. We thank them for being on board. And At the start of the second quarter, the Knights defense once again has a chance on third down to potentially get off the field. But as you said, Nick, this very well could be 4-down territory. It's a third down handoff up the middle, and fighting for first down yardage is Kamari Tony. He's got that and then some as he's brought down at the 11.
Tony on the carry.
Yeah, Tony on that play, Joe, just pretty much lowered the shoulder, lowered the helmet, and just pretty much plowed right through that Knights defense and got an easy first down. Ruled down at the 12-yard line. So first down coming up here for the Vikings, trying to get back the lead.
Good power run on third down. And that's a play call where in all likelihood you know you're going to go for it on fourth should you come up short.
They now have Adam now in the backfield here on 1st and 10.
And he will get the handoff, but nothing on that play. A loss of about a yard, maybe a bit more than that, as the Knights rally to make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. 2nd and long coming up.
Yeah, you saw right there, you go from the power back in Tony, and then they go right back to the more speedster back, and if you want to put the term like that for the Vikings, and Adam, and a good job of the Knights defense. They got him quickly in the backfield, getting a loss of about 2 yards on that play, and bring it up 2nd and long.
We do have, where I live anyway, Aberdeen Day next weekend. I was thinking of the Giants backfield. Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw. He'll be in attendance at Aberdeen Day next week. I think Old Bridge Day is also the same day. I saw the sign on the way here. Shotgun set, handoff, goes to Adam, and once again he stood up right at the line of scrimmage. 5 Knights in on the tackle, and it will be 3rd and long.
Yeah, once again, the Knights giving no room to run right there for Adam. He's had a tough time ever since he had that end-around run to get them the first down earlier in this drive. So that stop right there keeps it at 3rd and about 12. And, again, it's got to be 4-down territory unless they feel comfortable making a field goal opportunity in this spot in the field. Got to get to the 2-yard line to get the first down and extend the drive.
3rd and very long. In a 1-point game, I would think that if it goes to 4th and long, they would kick it. But we will see what the Vikings decide to do and if it even comes to that, as they will line up here on 3rd and long, single back set. 2 receivers wide left, 1 tight end to the left as well. Duffy is rolling left. He throws short and incomplete. Bretton Lynch, the intended target.
Pass incomplete. Flag on the play.
But there is a flag. That one thrown at the line of scrimmage. Maybe
it was up against the Viking offense. So
I was thinking maybe an eligible man downfield as the quarterback got rolling to the left, but
gotta think that in this spot, Joe, do you accept the penalty maybe to further them back and make it a even longer field goal potentially?
That's a very good question, Nick. We'll see what the Knights do here.
They elected to decline, so it's going to keep it 4th and 12.
I think how well you have the opposing kicker scouted plays a role. And if they backed them up 10, they would have been at about the 20.
They would have been about 3rd and about 22, which, again, you risk the danger of giving them another down. But at the same time, if they don't get anything on that down, then you're able to force an even longer field goal. This one upcoming right here would be about, I believe, a 31-yard field goal upcoming for Gregory Schifrin.
They would have been about at the 24, which would have made it a 41-yard field goal if they accepted the penalty and then got the stop as the Knights block another. Old Bridge comes up big on special teams once again. The Knights block the extra point following the game's first score. They block a field goal, and we'll get a look at who it was off of that edge.
Yeah, I'll try to see if I can get a better look at who the number was.
Field goal was blocked. Ball placed at the
I want to say that might have been Olivencia, Joe.
Nick, I think the best way to get a second look is to come over to our replay section here and try and find a part of this replay with the blocking players back to the camera. And Nick, I think you're probably right. Can you see there? As the Knights will snap it here on first down. They go deep. Jaden Griffiths alone, but the throw is a bit too strong.
Tough break right there, Joe. As that incompletion almost leading to a big play touchdown for the Knights on first down.
Nugent had a chance for a big play, and time again, Jaden Griffith has proven to be a dynamic playmaker for this Old Bridge offense. This time, Nugent just a bit too strong on the throw.
And we talked about, getting that running game involved can allow you to get those big plays down the field, and they almost got one right there that would have added to their lead.
Second down handoff goes to Dixon, and he has nothing.
Looks like he lost about a yard on the play.
And just like that, off the block kick, the Knights now have a third down and long.
Number 21 on the carry.
And Joe, if I'm not mistaken, I think the blocked kick, I think that was Walker that got that blocked kick right there for the Knights defense. And it kind of looked eerie similar to the PAT that they blocked to start this game as well.
And that's something to keep in mind the rest of the night. Will the Vikings be able to take kicks for granted? Likely not. Nugent throws middle, complete. Allsbrook picks up the first down and more. He's still fighting and is finally tackled across the 40-yard line.
I mean, Joe, if you look at where he was in the field, he was wide open, not a defender in sight. A great job by him getting wide open on that play. And Nugent had a good time in the pocket as well. Got a lot of good protection from his offensive line. Gets the first down.
Fake handoff on first down. Nugent rolling right. And we'll pick up about 5 or 6.
Joe, he got tackled late out of bounds. That might be a flag. I don't see a flag yet, but he did get tackled very late.
I'd be inclined to say that there shouldn't be a flag on that play. It's tough when you're a defender chasing the quarterback from behind. How early did the defender go in is always a question. The replay might provide some clarity.
See if we can get a quick look at that. You see Nugent right here, Joe. He starts to scramble out, and he pretty much looked like he was out of bounds. And then the late hit. That should have been a call.
That should have been a flag. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Old Bridge sideline was very adamant that should have been a late call on that play.
When a defender is pursuing the quarterback from behind in that situation, I'm a bit more sympathetic toward the defender. When you're approaching the quarterback head on and you can see exactly where he is relative to that sideline, I think, in my opinion, the officials are often much quicker to throw that flag. Second down and about 5. They fake the handoff on the sweep. Nugent picks up the first down and is tackled in Vikings territory at the 47.
Yeah, Nugent once again with his legs getting the first down right there for his offense. Gets a pass midfield and into Viking territory.
7 yards, first and 10 Knights.
Pick up of 7 to bring up a first down. The Knights continue to move quickly on offense.
As the wind now intensifies here late on at night.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Nick, the wind these last couple of minutes has really picked up. It has me nervous as Dixon takes the handoff and is tackled for no gain.
Well, I think we're both in agreement that we'd rather have the wind than another form of weather happening that we've had earlier on today.
Crystal clear skies at the moment, but the wind coming in as it has me mildly concerned. 2nd and 10 coming up here for the Knights. And Nick, keep in mind, Old Bridge kicked to open up this game. They take their time here and leave the Vikings with just a few seconds, maybe a couple of minutes. That could set up the double dip as that's intercepted. Picked off by number 12, Peyton Lynch. And just like that, Old Bridge gives the football back to South Brunswick in a 1-point game.
Joe, I'm curious to see also if there was maybe pass interference on this play. It looked like there was some contact on that throw from Nugent, but nonetheless, it is an interception for the Vikings defense.
So much for the double dip, Nick, and the commentator's jinx remains very much alive as well. Week in and week out, we just can't help ourselves on the headset.
Yeah.
And I'm a bit surprised to see Old Bridge throw the football as much as they have tonight. They've been in passing downs. That was 2nd and long. Traditionally a passing down, but they've put the ball in the air quite a bit more than we've seen them through the first 3 weeks. Up until that point, they'd had a lot of success. Not so on that last pass attempt.
Yeah, Nugent threw 32 passes last year in the matchup between these two teams as an early flag flies.
Once again, the Vikings try the reverse. And no running room for Omar Adam. And as you mentioned, Nick, a flag came in pretty early on that play.
That was against the offense, an illegal formation or legal motion, so 5-yard penalty.
That will bring up second and long, or I should say first and long. And it was declined, Nick. So first down and the loss of yardage on that play. Right. So second and about 15 maybe?
No, I think they got it right back to the line of scrimmage. So they elected to take the gain of nothing instead of giving them the 5 yards and the extra down.
They gave them a loss of 1 on the play. Second and 11. Matt Donahue emphatic in declining that penalty as Duffy throws another short screen. This time the Knights are all over it. And it will be third and long again.
They went to Julian Williams on that reception, but just, again, no room to run for him on that sideline. A lot of Knight defenders in that vicinity. No gain now makes it third and long.
And Nick, if you're Old Bridge, keep those screen plays in front of you. That has to be a priority tonight. And I mentioned it during the pregame. Last week, 2 touchdowns of 55 yards plus for this Vikings offense. Do not let a screen pass become one of those here this evening. Make sure you keep those receivers in front of you in the secondary.
Now, Joe, just to note the mention that the clock on our screen right now is not the official time. There's 6 minutes left, about to be 6 minutes left in this first half.
Third and long. And the Vikings hand off up the middle on the dive.
Looks like they got maybe 2 or 3 yards on that play.
And South Brunswick will punt. So following the interception, the Knights defense forces a 3 and out. End around.
Gain of 4 yards. It's
screen pass and a halfback dive right up the middle. Just like that, it looks as if Old Bridge will get their defense off the field and give the ball right back to the offense.
And a good job by the defense, Joe. The interception was thrown by Nugent on that previous drive. They force a quick 3 and out and now get the football back for their offense.
James Angermeyer, the punter for South Brunswick. He gets it away. Olivencia waiting for it. Will let it roll. And it will be touched down just inside the 40. So decent starting field position for Old Bridge. And despite the turnover, they do maintain an advantage in the battle of field position with just over 5 minutes to go in this first half. And now, Nick, if you're the Knights, you really have that chance to double dip with a potential score late in this first half and then getting the football back. You'll have a chance to do some more damage at the start of the third quarter. That being said, the big thing you want to avoid here is a turnover that shifts field position back in South Brunswick's favor. Even if you have to punt here, you can pin the back and play defense in the closing minutes of this first half.
Yeah, it's all about clock management at this point for Old Bridge in this one. Getting the football, get some points before the half, and then get your offense back on the field to start the second half as well.
First and 10, Nugent in the shotgun, and he will take off out of the backfield. Breaks 1 tackle and is out across the 45 down at the Knights' 46-yard line. A gain of 7 on the play.
Quarterback number 16 on the carry. Tackled by number 58, DeAndre Jones.
Second down and short now. And that's a situation that you have to love if you're calling plays for this Knights offense. A chance to perhaps give the defense a play action look, that screen game very much in play, and even a deep shot as well. But instead, Nugent will keep, and he takes a big hit right at the sticks, but is able to continue fighting forward and pick up the first down.
Yeah, he did take a shot while lowering his helmet on that play, but does get the first down regardless for his team as they now are inching closer. They now get just over the 50-yard line into Viking territory.
The Knights continue to move quickly here on offense as they hand off again, but
looks like maybe he lost a yard, maybe got back to the line of scrimmage on that play.
Nothing doing on that play for Dixon.
Number 21 on the carry, tackled by number 8, Ronan Cosbia O'Reilly.
2nd and 10 coming up for the Knights, and they appear very content to keep the clock moving. No need for any sense of urgency yet as Nugent lines up in the shotgun empty set. And Nugent will throw quickly, complete to Griffith. And Griffith accelerates up the sideline, picks up a first down and more as he steps out of bounds at the 32. Big gain on a short pass completion on 2nd and 10. And just like that, the Knights have it at the 32. They have it moving, Nick.
Yeah, the acceleration of Griffith that was well on that play, Joe. Quickly caught the ball, made a quick adjustment to go outside on the juke, and ran out of bounds, but a good wherewithal as well to find out where the sticks were to get the first down.
You have to love the ability of Griffith to make the catch and then get upfield quickly for yards after the catch.
And Oldbridge is going to take a timeout, Joe.
So timeout is called with 3:28 to go in this first half. The Knights have a first down and 10 coming up following the gain on that completion to Griffith. But Nick, you also have to like the way the Knights have spread the football around tonight. They've tried to get a lot of different playmakers involved. Obviously, Nugent always involved, Dixon always involved. We've seen Allsbrook with a couple of big receptions, Griffith heavily involved early, and it's always good to see getting the ball to your pass catchers on the outside without having to hit that big home run on play action. Obviously you love those, but the short, quick, easy throws for the quarterback need to be a part of the game plan as well, and the Knights have executed those here tonight.
And I mentioned that's what the Knights were looking for last week, Joe, in the game against the Chiefs. They were trying to get those quick passing plays sometimes, but most of the time it would either be, pass duress in terms of good, the Knights' offensive line, unfortunately, just not having a good time in that backfield with the pass protection and good pressure from the defensive unit from the Chiefs. And this one tonight, you've seen quicker passes from Nugent. We saw that one deep shot that almost got him a big play, but a lot of good rushing attacks as well in this one that have gotten them a choke of their yards.
Under 3.5 minutes to go before the end of the first half. Nugent will keep. He rolls right and throws short to Allsbrook as he cleared the arm of a defender on that pass. And Allsbrook is well clear of the first down marker, but a flag is in late, so hold on just a moment.
Joe, I will say I was fooled like you were earlier. I thought Nugent did not have the football when he made that throw.
Complete to number 84, flag on the play.
And that was a great ball from Nugent, who put some touch on it to get it to Allsbrook along the sideline. Not to be overlooked as well was the quality of the play fake. That being said, it looks like this one's coming back.
I think that was an illegal formation or illegal motion, I think was the call on the play right there for the Knights offense.
No signal officially yet, but you have to think that is likely what is going to bring this one back. That being said, the flag came in after the play was over. So I'm not sure you'd get flagged for an illegal formation after the play is done.
I'm not sure because he hit, the ump went to his head and he tapped his cap. So
that's an illegal man downfield.
Okay, so there you go.
That being said, the ball is where they went out of bounds previously, isn't it? At the 32?
I think so. They maybe got an extra yard, so it might be 1st and 9.
An illegal man downfield, wouldn't that be a loss of down and a 5-yard penalty?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Unless I'm mistaken.
I think that's what South Brunswick is talking with the officials about.
Discussion ongoing between the official and the South Brunswick bench. And it appears they've finally gotten a satisfactory explanation, though it doesn't seem like they're too happy about it. The ball is still spotted at the 32.
This kind of helps Oldbridge as well, Joe, because it gives them a lot more time as well to draw up another play than they originally had. So once again, time was called.
Official timeout from one of the referees in the offensive backfield. Now, they may be discussing where to spot this football once again. I think it should be back 5 yards, but perhaps I'm mistaken. They back it up about an inch, maybe a yard.
And it should be the loss of down, as you mentioned as well, too.
Well, it wouldn't be a loss of down for an eligible man downfield. It would be a 5-yard penalty and replay the down. The Knights will once again huddle in the offensive backfield. The ball is now spotted at the 33.
It's got to be frustrating for the Vikings defense because they were ready to get the next play going after that penalty was called. But not only that, but you obviously want to get the yardage added to the penalty as well. And it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It looks like it's going to be the original spot where the first down marker was.
Old Bridge had some good momentum offensively as well, especially following what appeared to be a nice gain anyway on the last snap. That obviously was negated by the penalty.
Timeout again was called, Joe.
And boy, this is getting really sloppy. It is the South Brunswick bench that called for a word with the official, and it appears they are still upset. You have to assume that's head football coach Ibrahim Halsey involved in the discussion with the referee.
And we saw last week also the game between Piscataway and Old Bridge. A lot of penalties were called in that game, but it did lead to a little bit of sloppiness in the later stages of that game going down, as we have some nice Jeopardy music going on.
How about that for a remix? That is a saxophone remix of the Jeopardy theme. Gotta love it.
And they do now move it back, Joe.
Well, I think they got it right, Nick. The ball should have been there in the first place, and it should be 1st and 15. So
I think the original first down is the 33. I think it's at the 37.
I had the 32. Moments ago they had it at the 33, but who's to argue over a few inches? Either way, it was a 5-yard penalty, no loss of down, and eventually they do get the ball spotted in the right spot. So I am vindicated, ultimately. And the Knights will hand off here on first down. Big gain on the ground for Dixon. And the last line of defense brings him down at the 15-yard line. I believe that was number 8, Ronan Kaziba O'Rahili on the tackle. I apologize if I butchered that pronunciation. The font is very small with the hyphenated last name, as Dixon has another nice carry. And this time he's brought down just outside the 5.
And Joe, once again, they're going quick tempo on this one, trying to get the touchdown once again.
John Trabati Jr. Second down.
And we have a pre-snap whistle.
Now, I thought originally they said it was going to be first down, but it looks like they ruled it 2nd and inches on the play. I think that's, see what the timeout was called by the Vikings as they try to slow down this Knights offense.
So South Brunswick has taken a timeout, and I like that timeout, Nick. Old Bridge on the ground had built some momentum with those last 2 snaps. Overall, their last several snaps had all gone for nice gains. And I think it was wise of the Vikings to try and slow that momentum down in this spot. Also, if you can, you would like to preserve some time for your offense. Objective number 1, keep the Knights out of the end zone. Objective number 2, if you can, try and preserve some time for your offense.
And you'll have 1 timeout to do it as well. So they have to be very preservant of that as well. And you know, another thing to note also in this game, the difference right now, that blocked PAT and as well as a blocked field goal. So that is right now what's helped the Knights so far have this 1-point advantage so far in the first half. And now they look to add to it even further if they add a touchdown right here.
Ball on the 7-yard line. It's 2nd down.
Ball officially spotted at the 7-yard line. So they marked him a bit short of the first down, as you said, Nick. It's 2nd and 1.
Gotta believe they go to Dixon once again after his last 2 runs.
Have to think so. Instead, Nugent will keep. Running out of time, and he is sacked. Now, Nick, that bootleg is a play that the Knights have liked quite a bit on the goal line. That being said, on 2nd and inches, the way Dixon's running, I think you feed it to him again.
Yeah, I was very surprised that they didn't go right back to him after the way he's been running the first couple of times.
4 yards. It's third.
Now they lost 4 yards on the play, and now it's third about 5. You need to get to looks to be the 8-yard line, maybe 5-yard line.
And Nick, I think you have to watch that bootleg again. This time to the left. That's the strong side of Brody Nugent, a left-handed thrower. That is the side where Jaden Griffith is lined up. Think back to that 2-point conversion play that we saw all the way back in the Week 1 game. That had Nugent rolling left, and they tried to set up Griffith in the slot.
And timeout was called by Old Bridge. They're going to talk this one over.
And if you take a look at the personnel on the wide side of the field there, if you want to capture the replay, Nick, ahead of what would have been the previous snap. So capture the replay here, and we're going to pause it on the personnel. Take a look at the wide side of the field. You might not be able to see it completely, but you can just cut straight to it. No need for the replay graphic ahead of it. Just cut straight in and then pause. If you take a look, and you really can't see it because not all 3 receivers are visible on the screen, but if you take a look on the left side of the screen, there were 3 receivers lined up there. In the secondary, they only had 2 defensive backs lined up near the hashes or outside of the hashes. If you send both of those receivers upfield, it's going to be a very tough play for the slot cornerback to come down and cover Griffith in the flat. On top of that, if you get Nugent rolling that way, that makes it really tough on a defense as we return to live action.
Yeah, I was expecting them on that play. It looks like we'll see if looks like they're going to go back into that formation as well.
Yeah. Now look, Nick, they're lined up over Griffith this time. I think they saw it on the South Brunswick sideline. They're not going to give them that look again.
That's a prime opportunity for a bubble screen that could have given a blocking opportunity for those 2 outside wide receivers. As once again, we have time called on the field.
You get a great look at it now as the camera pans upward a bit, but you had a great look at it just ahead of when that ball was going to be snapped. We will hold off on getting that look right now as Nugent takes the snap. This time he rolls right. He throws end zone, and Allsbrook has the touchdown. Amari Allsbrook with another reception. Touchdown. That is officially number 3 for him, perhaps 4, as one, I believe, may have been called back. Despite that, Allsbrook has been heavily involved tonight, and he comes up with the touchdown grab.
Yeah, great play right here from Nugent, rolling out to his right, finding Allsbrook in the back of the end zone for that touchdown. And speak about that throw as well. Not an easy throw for Nugent to make on that one. Over 2 defenders and finding it into his wide receiver's hands to extend their team lead now to 7.
1:27 to go ahead of this extra point.
Watch out, man.
And the PAT is good.
The extra point is good.
And now,
27 left in the
Old Bridge goes in front by 8.
South Brunswick Vikings 6.
And South Brunswick will have 87 seconds before halftime to put some points on the board. If they don't score, they will give the ball back to Old Bridge at the start of the 3rd quarter, already trailing by 8 points. That's a tough spot to be in, the way the Knights have played offensively through the first about 24 minutes of this game.
Yeah, I think for Old Bridge, obviously, Joe, in this spot, we've already given up the kickoff return. That's the points that the Vikings have gotten so far. Probably be wise to make sure that you don't give another one up in this spot here late in the first half. So let's see how they kick it off here on this ensuing kickoff. But great couple of drives that the Knights have had in this game. Other than the 1 interception, it's been a very smooth offensive night, and they're doing it at a great tempo as well.
Well, if there's an offense that will have to play with some tempo, it is going to be the Vikings here. They have 2 timeouts, if I'm not mistaken. Make it 1 now. Though there have been a lot of official timeouts in this game. It's not always clear whether or not those come from the bench.
Yeah, they called their second timeout, that last offensive drive, to try to slow down this Knights offense, but to no avail as they got the touchdown just a couple plays later.
We await kickoff here, and don't discount the potential for a big play on a kickoff. We've seen it already once tonight to open up this game. As Michael sends it away, it's off the fingertips of a Viking. Retreating back to pick it up was Jaden Williams, and he is tackled shy of the 20-yard line.
That's the exact type of kickoff you want if you're Old Bridge right there, Joe. They thankfully got it to hit off of one of the Vikings' hands that let the clock start running, so they lose about 5 seconds off of the kickoff. And now the field position as well. They have to start this drive at their own 20-yard line with just a minute 22 to go and just that one timeout, as we've already mentioned, down 8 points.
Ball's placed at the 20-yard line.
1:22 to go. First down and 10 from the 20 for the South Brunswick offense. They would love to put at least 3 on the board here. They have the minute 22 and 1 timeout. Duffy operating out of the shotgun. He looks to his left, in trouble. Jukes to the outside, pulls it back down, and flips it into the Knights bench.
Wise choice for Duffy right there. Throw that one out of bounds. But, you know, you think about this well, Joe, for the Knights defense. If they can get another stop and an incompletion here, and you still have your 1 timeout for a potential 3rd down play, they can potentially get the ball back for their offense here before the end of this first half.
Absolutely. I think the incomplete pass there is something Old Bridge doesn't really mind. Obviously, the Vikings lose the down. That's a victory for your defense, but it keeps the clock stopped, as you mentioned, Nick, and with the 1 timeout in their back pocket, should the clock stop again after either 2nd or 3rd down, you could be thinking one more shot at some points. Duffy in the shotgun once again. Throws to his right, complete. And losing his footing was Julian Williams as he goes down across the 25.
They're going to have to hurry up, Joe. It's going to be 3rd and 5 coming up.
Will they hurry, Nick? That's the question. It looks like they will.
Yeah. And if they get the stop here, Old Bridge, and force it to be 4th down, then they can use that timeout in their back pocket. Or if they can force an incompletion, they get to save the timeout.
And the Vikings will run it. And Nick, if you're going to run that, you have to think that it would be wise to use more of the play clock.
Yeah, and the timeout was called by Old Bridge. Clock is still running. We'll have to see if they put some time back on the board. Right now, 33 seconds is on the clock. But Old Bridge did call their final timeout of this half, Joe, and they will get the football back. It is about, 4th and 2 upcoming here. And I think also, you know, we saw last week for Old Bridge, they had that misfortune of a roughing the punter that cost them penalty yardage as well as getting them the football back with prime field position. So they obviously need to avoid that here in this spot once again and try to give their offense a little bit of time, get down the field, and maybe even just get 3 points before the half ends.
Well, keep in mind, Nick, when the Vikings have looked to kick, be it extra points or punts, the Knights have had players in that offensive backfield. You cannot take this punt for granted.
It's kind of slow developing, unfortunately, for the Vikings, getting the kicks as well as their punts going after the snap is made. So they're going to have to be very, I don't want to say be very quick about it, but they need to assure that it doesn't get blocked. Now, keep in mind, Joe, they did just add 4 seconds to the clock, so it's 37 seconds officially left in the first half.
The Vikings have to get this kick away, or this game could very quickly move into a very bad spot for them, with Old Bridge possessing the football in plus territory, already ahead by a score, and receiving the second half kickoff.
And Nugent will be the one in the backfield getting to receive this upcoming punt.
Watch out for him passing it backwards on the return. You never know. High snap! And here come the Knights! The ball is loose, a flag flies, and Nick, I said it, you can't take the punt for granted. Angermeyer got his fingertips on it, and as we saw last week, it was a race for the football. And I think they're going to get Angermeyer for illegally kicking that ball.
He tried to kick it away as the ball was on the ground. So let's see where they mark this ball after the penalty. It looks like they're going to mark it. Right now it's at the 25. Let's see
they recovered it way further up the field than that. Complete disaster in that spot for South Brunswick.
And meanwhile, it only wasted 8 seconds off the clock. There's 29 seconds to go in this first half.
That's a good point as well, Nick. If you at least force them to return that, seconds tick off. Old Bridge has no timeouts. I think in a perfect world, if you're the Vikings, you get that kick off, you kick it out of bounds, and you leave the Knights with no timeouts.
And Joe, look where they're marking the football. It's going to be marked at the 7-yard
Wow.
line. It's going to be 1st and goal.
What an opportunity for Old Bridge here.
That is a backbreaker. We saw last week how that, you mentioned it, that high snap leading to the safety for the Knights that unfortunately gave Piscataway 2 points. Almost disaster right there in terms of giving up points to end this first half. But in terms of a safety, but now you might give up a touchdown after that penalty happened on that last punt. So great chance here for the Knights to extend their lead. They're up 8 right now, and they can make it even further with a touchdown to end the half.
And Nick, I think if you were going to run it on 3rd down, A, you had to use more of the play clock, and B, you have to keep the clock running on 1st down. Nugent rolling to his right, looks to take off upfield. They have no timeouts.
They got to hurry up.
And Nugent will have to hurry back to the line.
See, they spike the ball, Joe. I think they are.
If you're Nugent there, you're almost better off throwing it away.
South Brunswick is calling for maybe a false start on the offense on that spike.
Now, if there was a false start, that would be a 10-second runoff, which would leave us with 3 seconds. Now, Old Bridge here, if they're going to run a play, needs to put quite a bit of faith in their quarterback to make a good decision. If you're Nugent, you cannot take a sack, and you cannot get tackled in bounds.
It's going to be a passing play, Joe. But the biggest thing for the passing play is they cannot waste too much time making that pass attempt. You have to get it about, you have to make that throw within an 8-second, differential from this play clock and game clock. You have 13 seconds to go. You want to give your kicker at least some time in case, you get tackled in bounds. But they have to get the kicking unit ready just in case.
Nugent looking right, throws that way. Griffith, touchdown! What a throw by Brody Nugent. He puts it right past the defender. John Draboti Jr. was right there, and somehow Nugent fitted into the back corner of the end zone.
It looked very similar, Joe, to that last touchdown pass where he had to fit it into a tight spot to get the touchdown pass to only his receiver, and Griffith was in the right place at the right time. Perfect spiral, perfect throw from Nugent. Can't ask much more out of your quarterback. It's now a 14-point lead with the extra point pending.
And I think he threw that ball before DeBrody Jr. had a chance to get his head back toward the line of scrimmage, Nick. Extra point on its way, and the PAT is good.
Extra point is good.
What a shift in this game that has occurred over these last couple of minutes. Old Bridge scores to go in front by 8. They get the 3 and out. And on 4th down, a high snap for the 2nd consecutive week proves to be a huge play. We saw it go against the Knights last week. It resulted in the safety. This time, the special teams catastrophe occurs on the side of South Brunswick. And now, barring another big play on special teams, we will head into the half with Old Bridge in front by 2 scores, receiving the second half kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, that we talked about the confidence your team has in their defense. And, Joe, once again, they're playing a phenomenal game so far in this first half. The only touchdown on the board being on the special teams kickoff to start the game. So they have not a lot of points so far in this game, and they just continue to keep playing the way that they've been playing these last couple of weeks. Strong defense, they're stopping the run at a very good rate. Where we're accustomed to seeing from this Vikings offense has not really been shown here in this first half offensively in the run game. And it's forcing them to throw the football a lot more than they would be used to. So the Knights defense deserves a lot of credit so far for how they played in this first half going into the second half.
They certainly do. And when you spoke to head coach Matt Donahue, he really liked the way his team played last week. Obviously, the miscues proved costly. Ultimately, you could make the case that the safety decided the game. The margin of victory, obviously, just a single point on the side of Piscataway. That being said, they did go for 2 on their final touchdown. Were it not for the safety, they could have went for the tie on the PAT. But either way, this kickoff is headed for the sideline, and it travels out of bounds. So the Vikings will take over at the 40.
Flag on the play.
And I'm curious, how big of an arm does Daniel Duffy have?
Well, I think also with 9 seconds, you can maybe afford to throw one quick pass to the outside,
Certainly.
get a couple extra yardage, and then throw the ball deep. So it depends. I mean, you're at the 40-yard line to start the drive regardless, but you certainly have the case to maybe make one play to the outside and then try to go for that Hail Mary to end the half and give at least your defense and your offense some confidence, a little bit of a confidence booster going into the second half.
The last time that I threw a football on a field with yard markers, obviously I'm not throwing against the pass rush in the pocket, but I threw it 60 yards. So we'll see how big of an arm Duffy has. And
Joe, they look like they're going to be
they're going to kneel it. The
Yeah.
ball is spotted at the 35
Yeah.
on the kickoff out of bounds. So I think wisely the Vikings take the knee and send this game to halftime. But if you're a fan of Old Bridge, it was a good half for you. The Knights lead it by 15 at the break. This was a 7-6 game just a few short minutes ago. 2 late touchdowns in the first half scored by Old Bridge put them in front 21-6. When we come back, the third quarter from South Brunswick High School, Old Bridge receiving the second half kickoff.
Simplified, trusted, committed.
When it comes to buying and selling a home, do it with Peter Hunt's home team, powered by Century 21. For years, Peter has dedicated his life to the real estate industry, offering help and care to all of his clients. With experience and proven results, Peter is an award-winning realtor and the top producer for Century 21 Action Plus. A resident of Old Bridge, put Peter to work at selling your home or finding the home of your dreams. Call 1-800-299-2129 or reach Peter directly at 9086-014-934.
Old Bridge football is sponsored by Lettering.com. Order vinyl lettering with unmatched production efficiency. With one-day turnaround and free shipping, we are unmatched when it comes to signage, boat lettering, mailboxes, window lettering, and of course, helmets and sports apparel. Free shipping always, and the best prices around. It's Lettering.com for all of your lettering needs.
Trusted, committed.
Welcome to the All-American Ford Bronco Barn. That's right, we turned part of our showroom into a Ford Bronco Barn. All-American Ford in Old Bridge has the largest selection and best prices. Our Bronco Barn features custom Broncos, Bronco heritage signage, accessories, and more. All-American Ford in Old Bridge is truly your Ford Bronco headquarters, and there's something for everyone from the Big Ben trim level to specialty Broncos. Ride topless in a Bronco from All-American Ford. Visit us in Old Bridge or shop online at allamericanfordinoldbridge.com.
Since 2000.
Old Bridge students, take advantage of the Old Bridge special at Bagel Boy. 10% off all purchases with your valid student ID.
And we are back from South Brunswick High School here on the PDF Sports Network. Once again, Joe Foreman rejoining you alongside Nick Bavona. And this game is not the only game being hosted by the PDF Sports Network tonight. We do have another game that is just getting underway. That game is not airing on the PDF Sports Network, but we are the voices behind Rockets Hockey Club of the U.S. Premier Hockey League. The team plays out of Bridgewater, New Jersey, and their season gets underway tonight against the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Knights. So you can catch that game along with this game and the conclusion of our high school football game over on Flow Sports. That does require a subscription. However, our next broadcast, Nick, you and I right back at it tomorrow night as the Jersey Sharks take on the New Jersey Silverbacks in League of All Leagues football action. Big game for both of those teams, and the Sharks made their debut on PDF earlier in the month. We get our first look, you and I anyway, at the Sharks this year, as we obviously had the game earlier this year on PDF.
Yeah, a lot of fun times coming up on PDF, obviously with the game tomorrow as well. And the conclusion of this game here tonight with a 21-6 lead for Old Bridge going into halftime. And Old Bridge's season's still not done as well, Joe. They still have a couple more games left on the schedule.
Let's take a look at that upcoming schedule. Hopefully I updated it with the most recent result. I believe I did. And there it is. Old Bridge back at home next week against East Brunswick. I do believe I am scheduled to be on the call for that one. So we will find out who will be joining me soon. I'm not sure if we have Dave for that game yet, but if not, Nick, you're always welcome here on the Old Bridge Call. We will see what next week has in store. I'm fairly certain that I will be there. And of course, the Knights hope to be going into that matchup off of a win.
Yeah, and you look at the remaining schedule after that, Joe. If they're able to come out on top with this victory, they'll go to 2-2, going back home against East Brunswick. Then they go on the road for the next 2 weeks to Morristown and Monroe. Then they go back home to end their home schedule with Hunter Dome Central, and then ending their season on the road against Colonia. So a couple more games left in the season for this Knights squad. They try to get into the postseason, make a little bit of a run. Obviously, after a 4-6 season last season, they're looking to make it back and looking to get to the halfway point of their win total from last season with a win here tonight.
And here tonight, Nick, it's been a great start for the Knights. They really have done no wrong in this game for the most part. The lone blemish on that first half stat line is the Nugent interception. That was it. Other than that, the Knights offense was really firing on all cylinders. They got playmakers involved all over the field. We've said Jaden Griffith's name many times all season long, but tonight it's been Amari Allsbrook who's had the bulk of the receptions for this Knights offense, including that late touchdown at the end of the first half.
And another player I didn't know worth mentioning. How about Jeremiah Dixon in this game with his rushing attack? He and Nugent have been pretty much a menace. They are, we mentioned the double-headed, monster for this Vikings team. That's what the Knights have done in this game with Nugent and Dixon in this one. They have been the two-headed monster for Old Bridge in this one. And Nugent, with that running ability, has gotten him some passing touchdowns. But the biggest takeaway as well for the offense for Old Bridge in this first half, Joe, the tempo that they're doing it at as well. You saw a bunch of times in those last couple of drives for the defense of South Brunswick, they just could not stop this offense because they were pretty much gassed and trying to get off the field. And you saw a couple of times they called timeout to try to give their defense a little bit of a breather. And now they come out into the second half not only trailing by 15, but that defense has to come right back out onto the field after giving up that late score to end the first half.
And it shouldn't be overlooked that a big part of the reason that Old Bridge has been so successful tonight, the play of their offensive line. They've really been fantastic tonight. Nugent has had great protection. The running game has been blocked very well. And we talk a lot about Brody Nugent's running. Let's talk about his passing tonight as well. Those last two has the ability to extend plays with his legs and make plays on the ground.
I mentioned last season what this matchup happened between the two teams, Joe. Nugent had 32 pass attempts in that game. He was 16 of 32 for 289, 3 touchdown passes, as well as having 80 yards rushing and a touchdown for a rushing attack. So we knew going into last season's game that he had the capability of throwing the football in these types of games, but we haven't really seen him doing it, as you mentioned, throughout the first 3 games of the season. Here tonight, we're seeing that passing ability. You saw those last 2 touchdown passes for the Knights, getting them the lead that they have so far in this first half, and those were not easy passes, as you mentioned as well. Having to get it through a tight window to your receiver, and the second replay that we showed, that last one we saw, getting it over 2 defenders, not an easy throw for any quarterback to make, whether you're at the high school, the collegiate, or even at the professional level. It's not an easy throw, and Nugent made it look pretty easy doing that, and now he reaps the benefits with that 15-point lead he has coming into the half.
And before we talk about things on the South Brunswick side in terms of tonight's game, how about this halftime presentation?
Yeah.
They had the cheerleading squad out there ahead of the band, and now the band, with some performance, they've been going for quite some time now. They have platforms all over the field, and there is a lot of choreography in addition to the sounds coming from the instruments down on field level. Quite impressive to see in person.
Yeah, I feel like I'm at an orchestra right now watching this happen, and this is certainly a spectacle to see if you are in person. And, you know, obviously, when you mentioned South Brunswick, we'll get into that now and how their first half has gone as well, Joe. You know, great start they had to the game. They got an opening kickoff return for the touchdown, really set the momentum early for them. It gave them that 6-0 lead, but it seemed as if ever since that blocked PAT, after they got the touchdown, that is where it's gone downhill for them here in this game. They had another blocked field goal. They had a punt almost blocked. Then they had a punt that was a bad snap that led to easy field position, setting up Old Bridge for 1st and goal, giving them that late touchdown before the half ended. So it's been miscues like that, unfortunately, for the Vikings in this game that have gotten them in this deficit. And now, cutting that defense back out onto the field, down 15, and trying to avoid it being a 3-possession game, it's certainly no easy task for any defense to do going into halftime.
Absolutely not, Nick. And the way this Old Bridge offense has played tonight, it's tough to see the Vikings coming back from 2 possessions down, but it all begins with getting a stop to open up the second half. They have to have one. If they give up points on this drive, it becomes a 3-possession game, and that makes things far more difficult on your offense and on your defense, as they would be left with absolutely no margin for error should their team go behind by 3 scores. Now, speaking of East Brunswick defensively, or I should say South Brunswick, I'm a week ahead of myself. I'm a week ahead. But speaking of South Brunswick defensively, what do they have to do to get this Old Bridge offense off the field? We've seen the tempo. Can they slow them down and perhaps make them play a bit more slowly? What needs to happen?
They need to first win the battle in the trenches right now, Joe. You mentioned the offensive line play for Old Bridge in this game. That's where Old Bridge is taking advantage of getting those big runs they've had in this game. If they can win at the defensive line in the trenches against this offensive line of the Knights, then they'll force some, 1 or 2 yard runs, maybe even get a loss of the play. They have to try to force them to throw the football, I think, at this point, because the rushing attack for the Knights has been a huge reason why they're getting down the field and forcing that up-tempo offense and getting some quick plays on the field. Now, have the Knights certainly gotten some pass plays that have worked in their favor? Absolutely. They almost had, that pass to Griffith that would have been a huge touchdown reception for him, and it just went over his head. So it'd be easy to say, yes, let's force them to throw the football and try to, make sure that they don't run out at us. But the other problem is also, Joe, with Old Bridge getting the ball to start the half, you got to believe they're going to start with the run and try to milk as much clock as they can. That way, if, let's say, they do get it to stop at South Brunswick, the Vikings will come back onto the field, and who knows how much time they'll have here in the third quarter to get back on the field for their first possession of the second half.
Fortunately, the deficit is just 2 possessions. You don't have to worry about counting possessions yet. If you give up points, that immediately moves to the forefront of the conversation if you're the Vikings. So obviously, priority number 1 to open up the second half, get off the field defensively. And if I'm this South Brunswick defense, I think the way to do it is to keep Old Bridge in 2nd and long. If the Knights look to run it on 1st down, make sure those plays don't go anywhere. We haven't seen them look to throw much on 1st down in this game. I think winning on 1st down is going to be key for this Vikings defense here in the second half. If they can set up 2nd and long and force this Old Bridge team to perhaps end up in a 3rd and long and then be forced to pass there, I think that gives them their best shot of getting off the field. That being said, the receivers for this Knights team, they have found a lot of room in the South Brunswick secondary tonight, and I think that's a big cause for concern in this second half. You mentioned it, last year the Knights came out and attempted 32 passes against this Vikings squad, Nugent completing about half of those, but when you throw for 289 yards, it really doesn't matter what percentage of your passes are completed. 50, not a bad number at the high school level, but if you're throwing for nearly 300 yards, you're going to put yourself in a very good position to win. Unfortunately for the Knights, that was not the case last year. I think if they get to 300 yards passing tonight, they're going to find themselves in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and you saw Nugent. I mentioned that pass to Griffith that would have gotten them a big play touchdown, which would have given them even a further lead. I think that's another thing to also note in this one, Joe. South Brunswick, very grateful that past did not get completed from Nugent to Griffith. It very well could be a 3-possession game for Old Bridge going into the half and them getting the football to start the second half. So that was certainly a play that they had to, take a deep breath and say, you know what, we got away with that one, but we still need to come out on top here in the second half and, make sure that we don't give up a lot of these rushing yards that we've already given up in the second half. Because if they do, let's say, stop the run, or they do give up a lot of big yards on the ground, it's going to lead to maybe some play action for Old Bridge that will set up some potential touchdowns for them. And as you mentioned, you cannot afford to give up a touchdown right now or any type of points if you're South Brunswick heading into the second half.
And if you're Old Bridge, obviously we saw in the first half their offense with consistent movement up the field. There really wasn't a point in that first half where their offense was slowed down much. The interception was the big play on the side of South Brunswick defensively. So if you're Old Bridge, are you thinking about clock at this point, or are you just doing what you did in the first half, going downfield, putting together quality drives, and looking to deliver the knockout blow? Being over-aggressive can hurt you, but I think that in all likelihood, we see them look to do exactly what they did in half number one. What are your thoughts, Nick?
I think it's too early to think about the clock already because you have a 15-point lead. I think what you've been doing has been working excellent so far in this game. You're running the ball at a very good, efficient rate. You're getting this defense really tired, which is forcing the opposing side to call timeouts at some points. And at this point, Joe, they really can't afford to call the timeouts because as the game gets later on, let's say if South Brunswick gets some stops and they have an opportunity maybe later on to get the game-tying score, they're going to need those timeouts at the end of the game. So they really can ill afford to call any timeouts on the defensive side to try to give their defensive unit a little bit of a breather. So if you're Old Bridge, just keep playing the way you're playing right now. Run the football down your opposing team's throat. And then if you're being forced to throw the ball on 3rd and long or 3rd and medium, you got to make sure you can either make it work and at least maybe set up 4th down or just get the 1st down all entirely.
Well, I said it before, Nick. The cause for concern that I see on the side of South Brunswick, obviously the offense has had some struggles tonight, but their first offensive possession looked really good. They went straight down the field. They got slowed down in the red zone, but overall, a good first possession. It ended in the block kick. The reason I bring up the clock discussion is because typically when a team gets ahead by 2 possessions with possession of the football and the quarters are just 12 minutes, I think it's a fair question to ask. That being said, the second half is just getting started, and I'm with you. I think Old Bridge looks to resume right where they left off in that first half. We saw some very good-looking drives. I don't think the play calling changes much here. We'll see if South Brunswick looks to adjust defensively, as they didn't show many signs of being able to slow down the Knights through the first 24 minutes.
Let's see, maybe. I'm wondering, do they maybe do a sneaky onside kick to start the second half?
Look at the alignment by Old Bridge. They were ready just in case. That kick skips to the arms of Xavier Diaz. Diaz bounces it toward the near side and is tackled at the 30.
Number 2 on the carry. Tackled by number 33, Valentino.
So the Old Bridge offense will take the field for the first time in the second half, leading by 15 points. They have come away with points on all of their possessions tonight, with the exception of one. That possession ended with a Brody Nugent interception.
And you could make the case on that interception, maybe a pass interference could have been called. There was a little bit of contact as that ball was thrown, and it led to the pick happening for sure, but could definitely make the case that maybe it was a little bit of a pass interference in that play. South Brunswick, obviously, being in their own in the road territory, they're certainly not going to agree with my sentiments there.
The beneficiary on the pick is Peyton Lynch. Lynch at the safety spot. He's out there on this first down for the Vikings defense. Nugent in the pistol. Hands off Dixon. Up the middle, and I said it, Nick. The Vikings have to win first down. They do so right here.
Yeah, I mentioned they have to win the game in the trenches right now because that's where they've been getting beat up in this game. That's allowing the Knights to get a lot of their rushing guards in this one. So if they can win the game up front and force about a gain of 2 yards at best, again, maybe a loss, they have a good chance.
Nugent keeps it on second down. He's flushed right, running out of time, and he is pushed out of bounds for a gain of 2. And just like that, Nick, it's 3rd and long.
Now this is it. I will say this is where you want to be if you're South Brunswick, forcing a 3rd and long opportunity. But at the same time, this is still a dangerous part in this game because you know Nugent has the capability to scramble out of the pocket and find an open receiver with his legs and force something down the field. So got to make sure you have maybe somewhat of a spy or have at least someone running with Nugent on the play. And obviously you need your defenders to make some good coverage on this upcoming 3rd down.
The receivers have found open space all night. Nugent looks to throw. He's flushed to his left. Rolling, completes. That's good for a 1st down and some. Still fighting is Serrano, and he is finally tackled at midfield.
Quarterback number 16.
Well, you saw there, Joe, that was kind of a curl flat on that play from Serrano on that catch. And the issue that I mentioned before the play started was you can't really give that wide receiver any separation. You got to make sure that you could force that incompletion. Unfortunately, on that play, just a little bit too much separation led to that catch happening and led to the extra yardage happening afterwards.
And, Nick, that's great play design once again. That all starts with the pre-snap motion. Griffith is motioned across the formation. The defense's attention comes that way. And if you take a look at that route, Serrano initially broke toward the inside and then broke back outside with his quarterback. That was by design. They had the defensive back on an island covering one-on-one. Tough spot for the DB as Nugent keeps and gets back to the line of scrimmage. No gain on 1st down. And it will be 2nd and 10.
On the carry, tackled by number 56, Deshaun Boateng.
Nick, they do it again. On 1st down, the Vikings front wins and forces a very short run. But we saw it on the last set of downs, and we've seen it all night. These Knights receivers have gotten plenty of separation in the secondary, and Brody Nugent has not missed.
Yeah, and you get the sense that maybe do they play a little bit of press on the outside.
Fake handoff, and the Vikings were not fooled. Nugent is taken down by a host of tacklers inches past the line of scrimmage, and that will bring up another 3rd down and long.
Well, I think now more than ever, you cannot afford to give up that separation if you're one of the DBs on this Vikings team. So I'd be willing to see, Joe, maybe they go press coverage on this upcoming 3rd down and about 9-10 yards on the upcoming play, because you really can't ill afford to give up any yards. Even if you do give up a catch, if Old Bridge does get about 4 or 5 yards, sets up a more manageable 4th down, they might go for it.
Certainly on the table. Nugent looks left, throws right, complete. And all over it was the Vikings defense. Right there to make the tackle was number 44, Jacob Walczak.
Yeah, they were not fooled by that screen pass there, Joe. Great job by that Viking defense getting the stop. But as we saw last week, Joe, we had that fake punt. Or maybe we did have a fake punt, surely, but we had the second punt, the one where Nugent kicked it late, and it hit off of one of the Chief players and led to a turnover being forced. So they got to watch out here on this upcoming punt.
No question, you have to watch the fake, but Nugent gets off a very nice kick. And the Knights have a chance to down this one inside the 10, and they do at the 2-yard line. Special teams for Old Bridge has paid off in a big way tonight. Since that opening kick return they've allowed, the special teams unit has been a major plus, and we see it again there as that punt is down at the 2.
Yeah, Nugent with a absolute bomb of a kick right there. And the great job by the special teams unit of the Knights right there, Joe, getting down the field and downing it inside the 5.
That is a great punt by Nugent. And the Vikings are backed up on their own goal line.
They might have to do a QB sneak here on 1st down.
They will. They got great push on the first one earlier, and we'll see how much they give him here. It looks like 3 yards, as this one is going to be spotted at the 5-yard line.
And if you're Old Bridge, obviously, Joe, in this spot, we've already seen a bad snap on a punt, and we saw last week that didn't play into Old Bridge's factor, and it led to a safety. If they're able to get a quick stop right here, they can maybe force an errant snap and get a safety of their own.
If I'm Old Bridge here and I get a chance to force a punt, you have to feel great about the position that puts you in. The Vikings have to find a way out of this.
Probably go to Tony here on this upcoming 2nd and 7.
And they do hand it off to Tony. And a good tackle there is made right at the first down marker. I think they have enough.
Yeah, I think they gave him the first down.
And it was Adam on the carry, not Tony. So Adam gets enough for the first down, but he was into the second level with a head of steam and was brought down on a big tackle in the secondary.
Yeah, I was wondering if they were going to bring in and use Tony on that play because you're backed up into your own end zone. Maybe you go with the power back in that spot. But they go with Adam on that one, and a great run up the middle, good blocking as well, leading to that Viking first down.
7 minutes to go, third quarter. They will hand off once again, and Adam is stood up at the line of scrimmage. Multiple Knights there to meet him. They were led by Justin Valinati.
Number 5, Omar Adam.
That's kind of been the story of this game, Joe. I already mentioned how the defense has been doing great on the up front and not allowing a lot of rushing yards for this Vikings offense. And that's really what their key identity is for their team's offense, you know, trying to get down the field with their rushing attack. And not being able to do that in the first half, they got a nice run to set up the first down after that 2nd and 7, but Adam was once again stood up on that first down play.
2nd and 10, handoff. And another nice run.
That's a
this
great
time
tackle.
It is Tony, and once again, a big tackle in the secondary prevents a much bigger play as Christopher Benford made the stop for Old Bridge, but not before the Vikings pick up another first down.
Yeah, Benford doesn't make that tackle, Joe. I might be convinced that he might be going all the way to the house for a touchdown. That's a huge tackle in the secondary by Benford to save a touchdown.
That's a really big tackle by Benford. But the Vikings offense now gaining some traction here on the ground. 1st and 10, handoff once again. And this time, the ball carrier is stuffed at the line of scrimmage. No gain on the play. Maybe a gain of 1 on the run by Adam.
Number 20, Kamari Tony on the carry.
That was Tony.
Yes, it was. So they're both in there together?
They have been most of the time. I was mentioning it earlier. Adam sometimes sets up as a wide receiver, and that's where he was on that end-around play we saw that set up a first down earlier in this game. And I thought that when they were backed up at the end zone, maybe they would go with Tony as the power back, but that was not the case.
Second and 8. They hand off again. And immediately the Knights take down Adam in the backfield.
Number 5, Omar Adam on the carry. Tackled by number 3, Michael Kavas.
Nice tackle right there from Kavas. And Joe, interesting spot here for this Vikings team. 3rd and 10. What do you try to set up here to try to get this first down conversion?
I'm setting up a quick pass to pick up something, and then I'm thinking about going for it, Nick. I'm thinking long and hard about going for it because you might not get the ball back until the 4th quarter if you don't. You would need to get at least 5 or 6. Duffy does throw short. It's complete. And breaking a tackle along the sideline and getting close to the first down was Bretton Lynch. And now this gives you something to think about if you're South Brunswick.
I think it's going to be 4th and about 2 yards for South Brunswick right here. So, as you mentioned, it's a very interesting call you do up in this upcoming spot.
They're going for it, Nick. I think that play call indicates they were going for it, and I agree. I think you go for it here. You can't afford to give the ball back to Old Bridge and not see it again until the 4th. This keeps the football in your hands. That will not do it, as it looked like they tried a QB sneak.
They did.
And if they did, Nick, that wasn't even close.
That's exactly what they tried to do on that play.
I think they tried to quick snap them. I'm not sure if that snap was clean either. But, boy, Duffy never had a chance.
They tried to push the line again like they did earlier, and they just got no traction on that one.
They didn't think much about it either. They came right out of the huddle, lined up, and immediately snapped the football. I think they tried to quick snap them, Nick, and the Knights were not fooled. But
well, now here's the dangerous part of that not happening, Joe, because now It puts at 1st and 10 at the 31-yard line for Old Bridge, so they have a very good field possession upcoming here, and now they have a good chance to add to their already 2-possession lead in this game.
1st down and 10 for the Knights. Ball just outside of the Vikings' 30-yard line. Nugent in the pistol. Fakes the handoff. He's looking to his right. Takes off. And a flag flies as Nugent is tackled at the 30.
And with that being in the backfield, maybe got to think it maybe be holding on the Knight offense. That's indeed the case.
Flag on the play.
If that is holding,
Holding on the offense.
that's a big call, and it certainly is. And the Knights in position for a potential field goal with just a few yards gained. Now back up 10. And a field goal, Nick, in my opinion here, is as good as a touchdown. It puts you up 3 possessions. And that's what you need right now if you're Old Bridge. No need to be overly aggressive.
I will say I did see Michael Ferretto, number 23. He was kicking it around the 30-yard line during halftime warm-up. So he definitely has the leg to do so, and he was drilling it. Pretty much had a lot of room to spare after making it. So they could think about maybe a long field goal if they get a couple more yards here.
1st and long. Griffith on the sweep, loses the football. He stumbles toward the sideline and just gets back on top of it before that ball could roll out of bounds. And Nick, Old Bridge is moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and they now whistle for timeout on the field. But that could have been near disaster right there for the Knights on that previous fumble.
Well, Nick, in my opinion, all the Knights needed to do on this drive was get close enough for a field goal that put them up 3 scores. And I think if they had done that, with the clock moving, you take 2 minutes off, maybe 3 minutes, get that field goal, you're firmly in the driver's seat. And this game, the way your defense is played, could very well be over. Up 3 scores with less than 12 minutes to play. Instead now, they have backed up all the way to the Vikings' 43-yard line, and they have a 2nd down and more than 20 as Dixon takes the handoff and doesn't gain anything. I think he may have even lost a yard on the play.
I think he got back to the original line of scrimmage.
The good news here, Nick, is if you punt it, in all likelihood, you pin the Vikings back against their own end zone again.
For me, I think I'm expecting a little bit of a screen pass that might set up, if they go for a long field goal, they might try to do it from maybe around the 30-yard line. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go screen pass to one of the wide receivers, maybe a bubble screen, and set up a 4th and long, which could maybe set them up for a very long field goal attempt.
3rd and 21 officially. Ball at the 42-yard line. Nugent in the pistol. He is looking to throw. Steps up in the pocket and rolls right as he takes a huge hit and fumbles. The ball is loose at the 40, and I think the Vikings got on top of it.
And I think the flag is going to be on the Knights as well, Joe.
Nugent got clobbered on that play from behind as the blindside hit dislodged the football. The flag appears to be for holding against the Knights. And with that, the Vikings force a huge turnover and would take over at the 40 should this play stand.
Here's a last look at that play, but with that flag being in the backfield, you have to assume it is holding, and the Vikings are celebrating, Joe. It is a clear holding as well as a clean fumble recovery for the Vikings defense. And man, gotta give credit to that Viking defense, Joe. After the turnover on downs, backed up into their own 31-yard line, they got the holding call on 1st down, and then they were able to force back-to-back fumbles. One didn't get recovered. This one did. And now they have the ball at their own 40-yard line for this next upcoming drive.
And you have to absolutely love what you saw from the Vikings defense on that drive. They played with energy. They won the battle at the line of scrimmage. Did everything they needed to get Old Bridge off the field and give the ball to their offense at the 40-yard line. As once again, they tried the end around, and going nowhere was Adam.
I think he lost a yard on that one.
Adam on the carry, tackled by number 7.
I think if you're the Vikings here, it's about that time to show something to Old Bridge that they haven't seen yet, because the end around and a lot of these short passes, the screen plays, the Knights have been very privy to those the last couple of drives. And I think that Smash Mouth style of football, as I got tongue-tied. Did it again.
Smash Mouth.
Smash Mouth style of football. I had to try it again after I failed, but that style of football, the kind of football you want to play.
Let's see if they try to pass here. They don't have Adam in the backfield. It is Tony.
And Tony is forced out of bounds at the 40. No gain. And that success on the last drive came in between the tackles. They looked to run it outside there. And nothing gained on that play.
Yeah, and a crucial third down already in this spot. We've already seen one third down that set up a 4th and short, but you got the sense if they get something here, get it to 4th and short again, they might go for it again.
I don't think there's much question. Duffy's rolling left, and that pass is tipped and nearly picked. That was Michael Kavas who got a hand on it, and he is 6'4" off the end of that defensive line. Needed every inch of it to get fingertips on that football, and I think they're going to punt it, Nick.
Well, Michael had some nice choice words we had in the interview I had with him earlier on in the field. He spoke about his defense has been playing with a lot of toughness and mentality these last couple of weeks, and a big play from him right there on that screen pass, because if that gets through him, that might lead to a first down play for the Vikings. And now we've already seen some mishaps in the punting unit for South Brunswick. They got to avoid it right here once again.
No question about that. They need to swing field position back in their direction as that snap is low, and the kick is a low line drive. It skips across the 40 and comes to rest just inside the 35. Boy, Nick, that was almost another disaster on a low snap. If that bounces off the turf and anywhere other than straight into the arms of the punter, we could be thinking about another night's drive starting deep in plus territory.
Yeah, and you know what? To get that ball inside the 30-yard line, you'll take that if you're South Brunswick at this point, because that was almost near disaster for them. As I should have said inside the 35-yard line, but you see it right there, very low snap, and a quick, you have to make a quick decision on that type of a punt. And thankfully for them, they got a little bit of a roll. They're going to be setting this drive up for Old Bridge at the 35-yard line for first down.
First down, Knights. Quick pass complete. Allsbrook once again. This time, that reception goes for about 13 and a Knights first down, and he's very quickly working his way toward double-digit catches tonight.
Yeah, and he's been a menace in the receiving game for Old Bridge in this one, Joe. And you saw the play design as well. Quick inside fake handoff and a quick throw from Nugent. He was not looking towards his second read. He knew where he was going with the football on that one.
Perhaps the Knights a bit conservative on that first drive, immediately come out and throw it on first down, and they'll throw it again here if Nugent elects to. He rolls left, looks downfield, and throws it away.
Yeah, he might have been looking for Griffith on that play, Joe, but Griffith got pushed out of bounds, so he would not have been able to make the catch anyway, because that would have been called for a flag for illegal touching. So now it brings up second down.
2nd and 10. Old Bridge with the ball at their own 47-yard line.
And just 21 seconds to go in the third quarter as well.
I think now, possessing the ball up 2 scores, you could think about the clock a little, but more so than that, I think you're just trying to get points. If you get points, I think that probably puts this game away. Go ahead, 3 scores in the final quarter, and you can let your defense do what they've done all night. They've been great. We'll see if the Knights can get into scoring range on this drive. 2nd and 10. Griffith, the motion man. Handoff is faked. Nugent has running room. Nugent has blockers. Nugent up the sideline. It's a foot race. And he is finally forced out of bounds by the safety Lynch at about the 20-yard line.
Quarterback number 16 on the carry.
Let's see, Joe. They try to go quickly here to end the third quarter. 13 seconds to go. They might be going up-tempo to try to end the third, but it looks like they're not going to take a little bit more of time.
And Nugent's breakaway speed up the sideline, so impressive. He had a good block from his receiver on the near side, but it was a foot race to the sideline between he and the safety. You can see his coordinator on the replay getting in on that view provided by our camera operator.
He was so amped up about seeing the play as well.
Well, they still have 13 seconds on the clock in this third quarter. Nugent went out of bounds, and they stopped the clock. He will fake the handoff here. rolls left and steps out at the 16 with 8 seconds to go. So one more play, maybe two, if they move quickly to end this third quarter.
3 yards, second down.
That's officially a gain of 3, and it will be second down at 7. Once again, Nugent lined up in the pistol. 4 receivers wide. Dixon in the backfield. High snap. Fake handoff. Nugent in trouble, and he is sacked.
That's how the third quarter is going to end, Joe. Big play for that Viking defense. Gets it up 3rd and long.
And Nick, the Knights have been very, very aggressive with the play calling. We've seen a lot of passes early in the second half, but in field goal range, almost comfortably so at the 16-yard line. I'm a bit surprised to see them try and put that ball in the air there, risking the potential sack. That being said, we are through 3 from South Brunswick High School. No points scored in the third quarter, as our score remains Old Bridge 21 and South Brunswick 6. Cha-cha slide taking over here at South Brunswick High School as we get set to begin the fourth quarter.
Someone to my left was clapping their hands.
Can't help it.
Third down.
Crucial third down play here, Joe.
Nugent will fake the handoff out of the pistol. He throws on the move complete. Olivencia move inside, and he is tackled right at the sticks, and he has enough for a first down.
He needed to get to the 10-yard line. I think he got ruled down at around the 7 or 8-yard line. So good play from Olivencia to get that first down, and it's going to be 1st and goal.
And that's a stop the Vikings had to have, Nick. They had to have that stop to give their team a chance to get off the field without allowing them to score.
Now, Joe, if you noticed, there was a flag on the field. I didn't even see it at first. It was holding once again.
On the offense.
Holding on the offense.
And, Nick, something we noticed last week calling the game in Old Bridge is that the flags are very often just dropped on the sideline. They're not thrown into the field of play. So if a flag comes from one of the side judges, we often do not see it.
Yeah, if you look, Joe, it's
Nick,
pretty much 3rd and eternity right now on this upcoming play. They need to get to the 10-yard line again, and it's 3rd and about 21.
Third down.
I'm often known on the call as the Monday morning quarterback. Somebody has to do it. But I said it ahead of the fourth quarter. They could just hand the ball off and kick a field goal. And I think on 3rd and 11, you consider it. Go ahead, 3 scores.
Now is when you start thinking about milking the clock, as you mentioned earlier on before we started halftime.
Well, you have to go for some yards now. It's a long kick from here, certainly not a given. And there was early movement.
Yeah.
And once again, Nick, the Knights, just needing a field goal to go up 3 scores, are moving in the wrong direction. They played what was nearly a flawless first half.
But Joe also noticed Jaden Griffith, who we saw earlier, got a little bit tangled up with a tackle, but now he's down on the ground.
And as I was saying, Nick, the Knights played what was nearly a flawless first half. The only blemish on their stat line was the opening kick return, obviously, but the interception by Nugent was the one offensive play that really didn't go well, the one play where there was a big mistake. If you could even call it that, as you said, there may have been some contact in the secondary. Here in the second half, the yardage total for Old Bridge has to be negative, right? Overall, with the penalty yards?
Yeah, I mean,
it's close.
It's very close.
It's close.
I think the other concerning play is now also with Griffith's injury. That takes a big playmaker out of that offense as well for Old Bridge. But with 3rd and 26, I mean, it's going to be tough to see what they call on this play because I mentioned earlier you could try for a very long field goal, and they were, warming up before halftime the third quarter started. They were setting up around the 30-yard line for a very long field goal attempt. So if they maybe get around that 30-yard marker, which right now they're at the 36, maybe they go for a field goal. But, I mean, if they were able to get a first down here, Joe, I mean, that could – I mean, I want to say that might be the early nail in the coffin, but that could be a brutal blow for this Vikings defense if they were to allow a first down on this play.
Well, Nick, what I would do personally is Griffith hobbles off the field on one leg, unable right now to put any weight on that right leg, but he does get to the sideline. What I'm doing here, Nick, I'm trying to pick up some of it. I think going for everything could be on the table, but I think I'm trying to get some of it.
Right.
If I don't get enough to where I'm confident, fully confident that my kicker is going to make that field goal, I'm punting.
And I think another thing to note also is you want to get a play that's going to run some clock off, because an incompletion will give South Brunswick some new life and give them a lot more extended time, being down already 2 possessions. So they really need to, if you're Old Bridge, you need to get some type of play that will run some clock off, and then you can take a little bit of time to figure out what you're going to do on 4th down if you don't get this conversion here.
Well, Nick, the one thing I would like about a shot to the end zone is that I think it's easier to pin them back on a punt if you throw an incomplete pass here. But I think you try and get enough for a field goal try. If you don't get enough for the field goal try, you punt it unless you have the ball between maybe the 20 and the 30. So they would need 5 to get there. We'll see. Nugent forced to step up through the pocket, running out of time, completes left. And they're between the 20 and the 30, Nick. It would be about a 40-yard field goal. If you're confident from 40, you kick it. The question is, are they confident from 40?
That's going to be the decision Coach Donahue will have here upcoming, and I think they're going to bring the field goal unit out, Joe.
If you're confident from 40, by all means, you kick this. However, just outside the 20, I am not punting it. I would go for it if I'm not confident. They fell right into that sweet spot where perhaps they could elect to go for it, but I think the way we've seen Michael kick early in the season, you have to be pretty confident in his ability from this distance.
That's number 25, kicking the usual
That's Lucas
kicker.
Michael. Lucas Michael. His kick on its way, and that is no good. Wide to the right. It had enough distance, but was just wide to the right. And Nick, with that, the Vikings still have life with 11 minutes to go in this game. Plenty of time, still trailing by just 2 scores.
Yeah, there's still some life for this Vikings team. Another big stop right there. And once again, Joe, unfortunately for the Knights in this game, penalty yardage is again proven to be a big factor in this one. It played a factor last weekend. The penalty yardage they gave up on that last couple of plays, we thought they had a first down. Holding was once again called, and it led to them having to go further back in the field, and it led to that very long field goal attempt that just went wide. And now South Brunswick got to think they're going to try to go quick on this upcoming drive and try to get some points on the board and get a touchdown.
I think the big question mark for the Vikings is, can they air it out enough to get back in this game with the amount of time remaining? And as good as the Old Bridge offense was in the first half, this second half has been rough. I mean, they just needed 3 points to go ahead, 3 scores. They took over one drive deep in plus territory and got to the red zone on this drive, or just outside of it, and failed to score, as once again the Vikings set up a short screen, and that is complete. Gain of about 7 on the play for Bretton Lynch, who's had a nice night on limited touches.
Quarterback Daniel Duffy's pass complete to number 4, Bretton Lynch.
Yeah, Lynch will make it now about 2nd and 3 upcoming for the Vikings. So
7
this is a good spot if they want to go
3.
back to the run, maybe try to get a running play here, but still need to be aware of the time and try to at least give yourself a chance to get back on the field for one more possession if you can get a touchdown on this possession right here.
Goes back to what I said earlier, Nick. If you're Old Bridge, you just have to keep these Viking receivers in front of you. They've thrown short. We haven't seen them take a shot yet. And here they will hand off. And there is no running room on that play as Tony is tackled short of the line of scrimmage.
I think he lost a yard on that one as well. I mean, try to run to the outside, but once again, was just met by a bunch of Knight defenders, and now it makes it 3rd and about 4.
Well, the running game for South Brunswick all season has been their bread and butter. They have been dynamic on the ground. It has been a high-volume rushing attack. I mentioned it last week. They threw just 6 passes. And here tonight, they are going to have to throw far more than that to have a chance. As Duffy will hand off again. And a huge shot is dealt by Zamir Evans. 4th down coming up.
Kamari Tony on the carry, tackled by number 5,
Nick,
Zamir Evans.
I think they might be setting up to punt here.
I think you have to. You're too far back in your own territory.
Nick.
But it's still not a lot of time left in the game.
I don't know if you can punt this, Nick. Now, the sticks currently read 3rd down. That would be a mistake.
There is a conversation with the officials. Clock was stopped, so we'll have to
there's a
adjust
flag
that.
on the field, Nick.
Flag on the play.
Flag on the play.
So what was the flag?
It looked like the Vikings.
It's on the Knights.
The Vikings were about to send the punt unit out.
Defense.
And they call holding against Old Bridge on a running play. You don't see that very often. Let's see if we can spot it. How good are your eyes, Nick?
See if I can spot it out. I don't know where I was seeing it on that play. That was really tough to decipher from that angle.
Well, fortunately, if you're Old Bridge, you have margin for error here, but that one hurts because all signs pointed toward the Vikings bringing out the punt unit. I am highly skeptical that they would punt. And Nick, I think they assessed a 15-yard personal foul.
So it wasn't holding. Maybe it was on sports. I guess it was on sportsmanlike conduct.
And the Vikings pound it right up the middle, gaining just about 2 yards. And that will bring up another 2nd and long.
Number 5, Omar Adam on the carry, tackled by number 22.
Well, I'm not sure that I've seen less urgency from a team driving in the 4th quarter of a 2-score game. They are taking their time, and they are handing the football off quite a bit here. The Vikings, if they do score, are prepared to put a big burden on the defense without much time left in this game. You have to think at some point they're going to try and hit Old Bridge with a play-action pass. Duffy in the shotgun. Fakes the handoff and throws short. It's another screen pass.
Oh, my goodness.
And that is a scary-looking hit. But I think
he is getting up, thankfully.
I think Lynch was able to rest on his shoulder.
He is going to come off to the sideline, but yeah, that was a dangerous tackle right there, Joe.
His body was contorted in a very awkward manner. He got upended, and his helmet spiked down into the turf, but I think he put some weight on that shoulder to take the pressure off his neck. Either way, still a very scary-looking play.
Yeah, you'll see right here on the replay for this upcoming 3rd down. You mentioned it. He got pretty much upended, and I think, as you mentioned, he probably fell down on something, but did have to come off to the sideline.
Handoff once again goes up the middle.
He's short.
And the Knights rallied to make the tackle. Omar Adam took a shot at the end of that play, and that will bring up another 4th down as the clock continues to wind inside of 7.5 minutes to play.
Joe, do they dare go for another QB sneak on 4th and about 1?
4th down and 1.
They got stuffed the last time on 4th and 2.
I would toss it, Nick. I would toss it. I would go with the toss here. I think they've really pounded the rock between the tackles. I think you show QB sneak and try and toss it outside. That's what I would do.
Time is called on the field. I think South Brunswick has taken a timeout.
That's a timeout. You can't afford to burn there.
Yeah. I think the issue was, Joe, they were running down the play clock. They took a little bit of too much time trying to decipher what they were going to do on that 4th down play. And I mentioned it earlier on. They could really not ill afford to call timeouts because now, even if you get a touchdown on this drive, you need to save your defense some time and give the offense a chance by calling timeouts later on. And there's now just 7 minutes left in this game. So they need to make sure they capitalize first on this 4th down and then still give their defense some time. If they were able to get a stop, to give their defense not only give them time, but then get the offense again some time late in the game.
I think the number one thing here, most important thing, if you're the Vikings, very obviously, is to pick up this first down. So if you feel as if you needed to take a timeout to get the right play call, you take that timeout. That being said, you hate to burn a timeout in that spot because now, obviously, that leaves you with just the 2, but every second at this point is precious. There are just 7 minutes to go in this game. If they wanted to get really gutsy, and I don't think they would, play action pass. You catch them off guard and try and steal a touchdown.
They got a good look, but it does look like another QB sneak, and that is the case.
It is, and I don't think they got it, Nick.
I will say the official closest to the sticks is right at that first down marker, Joe. So,
Nick, I don't think there's any way they got it. But I think they may pick it up.
I think they might have given them the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know about that. On the near side, I think the official has them short.
Daniel Duffy on the carry.
Let's see.
Gain of 1 yard.
They will move the chains.
First down.
On that replay, Nick, I still don't think he got it.
Didn't look like it, but it was
in live action. I didn't think there was any chance he got it.
Oh, Joe, I say a lot of times, it's a game of inches, and certainly that was a game of inches on that play.
Yeah, I didn't think he got it, but they go with the QB sneak, and, you know, obviously you want to pick up that first down, but, boy, would I have been tempted to run a play action pass there, Nick. I would have been really, really tempted.
They might try on this play.
Perhaps. There it is. There it is, Nick. The Knights did not fall for it. And honestly, I would have done it on fourth down. You know, I think that the Vikings had the same idea. We've pounded the rock up the middle. We've stayed committed to the running game. We've shown them that we're willing to run and committed to it. But I don't think that on first down, the defense is going to bite there. I think if you run that on fourth down, Duffy clearly has the arm. I think you have a really, really good chance to catch the defense off guard.
And they almost caught them off guard on that last play, but Noah Rios, the defensive back, made a good play. Almost had himself an interception that most likely could have potentially sealed the game for Old Bridge in that spot.
He dropped it, Nick. He was right there in perfect position. As they will hand off once again here on second down. And nothing gained there.
Clock is still a factor right now in this game.
Yeah, I think at some point the Vikings are going to have to air it out. And we have an injured player down on the field.
It's one of the offensive linemen.
Referee timeout.
On the side of Old Bridge, Michael Kavas got up slowly. And on the side of the Vikings, it was Ivan Jude Owusu-Daku who ended up down on the field and remains down at the 47-yard line. Well, you never obviously root for an injury, but if you're the Vikings here, the timeout does give you a chance to talk things over.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're going for it on fourth down at this point, and with 6 minutes to go, there's no question about it. But what do you do here if you're South Brunswick? They really haven't shown the ability to air the ball out down the field. That being said, the short passing and the screen game has remained effective throughout much of this game. And I think on 3rd and about 8 here, I would expect them to go back to that. What do you think, Nick?
I'm in pretty much agreement. I think they go back to a screen pass because even if you don't get the conversion, if you could set yourselves up for 4th and short again, then maybe you can get the first down there. But that's really been their bread and butter in the passing game tonight, getting that screen pass working for them in this one. So if they can get another screen pass to work, they can potentially get the first down. Who knows? If they're able to get some good blocking on the sidelines, maybe they turn it, a short pickup into a huge gain that could maybe get them a touchdown or at least set them up inside the red zone. So there is a lot of time for them to decipher this play upcoming. But as we mentioned, it's already 4-down territory. You need to figure out is, in case you don't convert here, what do you have set up on 4th down just in case?
Well, we spoke a lot about the offense of Old Bridge in that first half and how well they played. But continuing the theme from last week, how about the way this Knights defense has played so far these last couple of weeks and for much of the season? Really from game 2 forward, this defense has not made many mistakes. They have not committed the costly penalty on the defensive side of the ball. And we've seen them hold a Vikings team that came in unbeaten to just 6 points. The defense did not even allow those 6 points.
Right.
So credit to this Old Bridge defense, as we've spoken so much about offense tonight, it's been the defense of Old Bridge that has really kept this game right where it is as the offense has sputtered a bit here in the second half.
And, we mentioned how the running game has been a factor for South Brunswick this season so far, and Old Bridge has, made it a point that they're not going to allow them to run at all in this game, and that's led to them, the Vikings having to throw the football sometimes. And unfortunately in this spot, with the injury still on the field, it's given these two teams a lot more time than unfortunately we had hoped, as they still attend to the injured player for South Brunswick. But at the same time, we mentioned the defense for this Old Bridge team, and I gave them high praise earlier on. They're just playing with a lot of good tenacity and toughness. And after that first game they had against Woodbridge, where they had a really slow outing, where a lot of passing yards were given up in that game, really couldn't stop the run for the decent part of that one as well. They have really bounced back since that first matchup, and they really have shown it tonight in this contest with the Vikings.
And I think when you're looking at a team's performance through 4 weeks, obviously your eyes first go to the record, and if Old Bridge can hold on, they will be 2-2 through their first 4 games.
And we talked about it ahead of time. There is a great case that this Old Bridge team could easily be 3-0 right now. If for just maybe 2 or 3 plays, they very well could be 3-0 on the season. I mentioned their 2 losses have been by a combined 3 points this season.
No question about it. They very well could be unbeaten entering the night here against the Vikings. But as I was saying, when you look at a team's performance through the first 4 weeks, you'll look at the record, obviously. But I think if you look at how many points they've allowed on defense overall, outside of that very first game, this defense has been nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah, just the 19 points I mentioned in the pregame. The 13 they gave up against Edison, and those 2 touchdowns were pretty much when the game was already sealed up at that point. And then obviously last week they gave up that late touchdown to Bodley for the Chiefs.
And you look tonight at how they've controlled the line of scrimmage.
And early movement, Joe.
You have to like that as well. And one side will not like this flag, as I think the Vikings are going to back up 5 here, and this will become a 3rd down and 13 if it does indeed go against South Brunswick.
Let's see if I get a replay, see who maybe jumped.
And it's against Old Bridge. And Nick, the commentator's jinx yet again. Yep. I spoke about how this defense has avoided
that's the right call.
The big penalties that have been costly, and that one perhaps doesn't quite fall into that category, but the minor infraction for the 5-yard penalty still hurt you in the spot. Now, the clock was running that entire time.
I know.
For the injury, I would assume, but
no, it was just running now after the penalty.
The penalty, shouldn't that stop the clock?
It should have.
Up the middle.
Did not get the first
goes
again.
Adam, and he's short yet again, Nick, as you said. 5.5 to play, no choice but to go for it. And still, South Brunswick showing no urgency here.
And the other thing, too, Joe, is they're not in prime territory to do another QB sneak. It's 4th and, I would say, a very long 2 or 3 yards. So they're going to have to potentially throw the football. But you mentioned it. They're wasting a lot of time. They might be in danger of having to call their second timeout.
I'm just shocked at how methodically they're moving this football on offense. They are getting first downs. They are moving it slowly and moving it in the plus direction, but very slowly is not what they were looking for on this drive. Shotgun set, 2 backs flanking Duffy.
Flag again, Joe. There was early movement.
Flag on the play.
This time it might be on South Brunswick. And it is.
False start on the offense.
That's going to be a false start against the offense, and now you have to throw it on 4th down. I think they were going to throw it regardless, but now you have to throw it in all likelihood to the sticks.
Yeah.
I would think that Old Bridge will have their eyes on that screen pass. So I think in all likelihood that would be off the table. I think if you're the defense of Old Bridge, you are committed to ensuring that a screen pass doesn't beat you here. What else is there?
I think if you're Old Bridge, I think the biggest guy you're looking for right now is the running back, Adam. We've seen him a lot. I think he's set up right now as one of the wide receivers upcoming for this play. Maybe look to watch out for him as making a play in the backfield or on the outside.
Rolling left is Duffy. He's running out of time, and he is sacked. In on the sack, Noah Balbuena. And that may be the stop that clinches this game for Old Bridge as the Vikings turn it over on downs.
What a play by Balbuena on that one, Joe. You saw Duffy rolling to his left, trying to find somewhere to throw the football, but there was just nowhere to throw, and he had no time as well. Great play once again by this Knights defense, who has had themselves one heck of a night, and they really deserve all the credit for how this game has gone for them.
Well, ahead of that snap, Nick, I was looking for Bretton Lynch, one of the captains, the big tight end, 6'1", 215. He wasn't out there after going down awkwardly on that tackle a bit earlier in the drive. And without Lynch, they lost a big pass-catching target out there on the field ahead of that fourth down snap. Old Bridge will take over with 4 minutes to go. Fake handoff, Nugent keeps, and is tackled after a gain of 2.
Quarterback number 16 on the carry.
And Nick, the Old Bridge offense, though they haven't put up any points in the second half, has done enough tonight. And the way this defense has played, they don't need much. The first half was phenomenal. And I think, if I'm looking back at the first 4 weeks, in the games I've covered, those being week 1, week 3, and tonight, I think easily the first half of this game was overall their best half of the season.
Yeah, they did everything. They did pretty much everything you could ask for on both sides of the ball. And even with the one turnover that they did throw in the first half, it was a great first half for them.
There's a big run for Nugent. He's out across the 30, still going, and out of bounds at the 20-yard line. Brody Nugent keeps it once again. And that's a huge gain on the ground as Nugent is pushed out of bounds in the red zone.
Yeah, you'll see right here, Nugent that's that ability to, as quickly as the ball is snapped, the acceleration that he takes after getting the snap, you just see it. He just gets right through a couple of defenders, and he's able to get pushed out of bounds at around that 20-yard marker. He is just having himself one great of a night, a couple passing touchdowns and some great runs as well.
Nugent in the shotgun here. The clock still stopped at 3:18. And Allsbrook takes the handoff on the sweep as he is tackled right at the line of scrimmage. No gain as he's taken down for 10.
Joe, remember the first down wasn't
right.
the 20.
Gain of 10.
The first down. So it should be first and goal upcoming here for the Knights.
I was going to say, he ran a long way for no gain there, though our perspective is slightly skewed. We are not at midfield. We are not in the press box. We are up in the bleachers. I've seen more selfies taken tonight than I have in many, many years.
I'm glad you said it, not me. That's all I'm going to say about that.
High schoolers love their selfies.
You saw last week in the student section for Old Bridge, they were throwing candy canes.
I wanted one.
I know.
That particular night, it hurt us up in the press box. We needed to be outside. Old Bridge, as we mentioned last week, their players boast what they believe is the best student section, and Dixon gets popped. Big hit on that play.
Gave him a yard on that one.
Dason Boateng with a big hit.
We've heard that name a lot tonight for that Viking defense.
They did not announce him as the tackler, though I thought he was the one that made that big hit. Inside of 2 minutes to go, and now, Nick, did we reach the 2-minute warning before that last play, or is there not a 2-minute warning?
There was not a 2-minute warning.
Okay, so perhaps last week when we thought there should have been a 2-minute warning, there is none.
But didn't we have one in the first half?
I'm not sure we did.
I don't remember at all.
High snap. Nugent brings it down and is able to salvage a broken play and is stood up inside the 5. Nugent could have very easily aborted that play following the high snap and gone down. Perhaps you'd like him to do that, but he's just not built that way, Nick.
Would you say he's built different, Joe?
You might say that.
I mean, when you make it runs like this, I mean, he certainly is built different. High snap, evades 1 tackle, 2 tackles, 3 tackles, and then not even sliding. He went straight down with his helmet to try to truck his defender to get into the end zone.
3rd and goal.
They want one more score, Joe.
No question about it. And they will hand off on the sweep, but the Vikings are all over it. If I'm not mistaken, That's the first touch of the night on offense for Aiden Rios.
By number 44, Jacob Walczak.
And Rios is tackled short of the end zone.
We saw him get the near interception that last drive. As it's now 4th and goal. The Knights could just run this one out, Joe.
I was about to ask, do they have to snap it?
I don't think so. Not sure what the differential is between the game clock and the play clock, but I don't think they have to snap it.
And if you're an official, even if they do have to snap it, do you call a delay of game here? I would.
I don't think so. The way that the Knights are celebrating, I don't think there's going to be another play.
There's
and
not. And Old Bridge comes into South Brunswick and knocks off the unbeaten Vikings, who are now 3-1 on the year. Old Bridge moves to 500. They're 2-2 as they win by a final score of 21-6. Nick, we did not have a single point scored in the second half.
Well, I mentioned in our pregame, Joe, that you can really expect the unexpected in this game where, yes, last season was a shootout between these two teams, but I figured that tonight, with the way these two teams have been running the football, a lot of clock would be chewed off, and that's pretty much what happened in this game. And despite that also happening, Nugent, with a couple of passing touchdowns in the first quarter, big game out of him, but nothing more big of a game than the defense in this one, Joe. The only points scored in this game was the opening kickoff for the Vikings on the special teams unit. Pretty much a shutout for this Knights defense in this game. They have got to be happy with the way their defense has played these last 3 weeks. And you mentioned it. Now they go to 2-2 in the season. A matchup next week with East Brunswick, so a chance for them to go over 500 next weekend with the victory back on their home turf. Excuse me.
And if you're the Knights, you have to love what you did tonight on both sides of the ball. Offense more so in the first half, but in the second half, they did enough. They protected the football, did not commit the costly turnover, did not make the significant mistake, and they took enough time off the clock moving the football to keep it away from the Vikings offense. If you're the Vikings, I think it's back to the drawing board in terms of the passing game. When they needed to put the ball in the air tonight, they simply couldn't do it. Couldn't pick up enough yards outside of the ground game. And defensively, the Knights did a great job slowing down this Vikings rushing attack. And I think ultimately that was the difference in the game. The ball got back into the hands of the Old Bridge offense quickly. They had it often, especially in the first half, and they made the most of those opportunities. I think overall a tremendous effort for Old Bridge tonight as they move to 500 with the victory. Nick, final thoughts belong to you.
I think for this game, Joe, Old Bridge has got some great momentum going for them right now in the season. Obviously, last week did not go their way, and I mentioned it already a couple minutes ago. They very well could be 4-0 right now on the season had it not be for a couple plays. The differential of their season has been 3 points in their 2 losses. So they still have got to be very confident how this season is going for them. Now you're at 2-2. You have a couple games left on the season, a chance next week to go over 500 for the first time this season. And as they go to celebrate with their student section that came out here tonight to celebrate with them, gotta feel very confident going into that game next weekend with East Brunswick as they try to go to 3-2 on this season.
A celebration well-deserved for the Knights of Old Bridge High School. They pick up the win over South Brunswick High School by a final score of 21-6. If the game is still going on, which it very well might be, tune in on Flow Sports to catch the conclusion of the Rockets Hockey Club home opener. It appears our camera feed has cut out on us just a bit early, but that will do it for us here from South Brunswick tonight. Once again, my name is Joe Foreman, alongside my broadcast partner, Nicholas Bavona. The Knights win it, 21-6. We'll see you right back here on PDF next week as the Knights host East Brunswick.